Special teams of Ruston was the key in an 8-0 victory. Last year, Neville got revenge.
Roy Hines lets it fly. Goes long. Touchdown, Joseph Hopkins.
Tonight, Charlie Brown looks for the same escort as he got a year ago as he exits the Superdome. As tonight, the Superdome Classic 4 comes your way from this great building from Lorimar Sports.
Tonight's Louisiana 4A High School Football Championship. Brought to you by Coca-Cola USA. For big refreshment, Coke is it. And by Burger King, where the double burgers are flame broiled. Just think, you may never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
You're looking live at the New Orleans Superdome. Here are the sites of the Louisiana Superdome Classic 4 as the Ruston Bearcats and the Neville Tigers, two titans out of District 3 Quad A in Northeast Louisiana, do battle. Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Brando. I'm joined by Doug Morrow, who will handle the color analytical work for us tonight. Really, two teams that know a great deal about one another. The Ruston Bearcats and the Neville Tigers, well, their tradition goes back a long, long way. In fact, the two coaches, Charlie Brown and Chick Childress, worked together for some time at Neville. While Charlie Brown was in the middle of a stellar career, Chick Childress was the offensive brain trust during some of those championship years in the 1970s. Doug, indeed, the Superdome Classic 4 always pits usually the top teams in the state. That's certainly the case this time around.
There's no question about that. These two teams have given each other problems this year, but no one else has been able to give them problems except for Woodlawn against Ruston early in the year. Ruston avenged it in the playoffs dramatically, 28-7, and it's going to be a real interesting sight to watch and see what happens. The first game, Neville had tremendous opportunities to win the game, but they had 7 turnovers. Ruston played error-free football, and really that was the secret to the game. Ruston got a field goal. They took advantage of the opportunities that they were given, but Neville had tremendous opportunities throughout the game, and particularly at the end of the game, it just didn't convert them. On paper, it looks like Neville's got a better team, but in the game that they have played so far this year, Ruston came out the winner, and now there's a chance for the rematch.
There was a senior quarterback for that Neville team that won the state title last year by the name of Conroy Hines. He's no longer with this club, but Charlie Brown has a find, and Maurice Nelson, his fine young scat-back quarterback that he has running the offense for him now.
And Maurice Nelson, number 16, who is an outstanding running quarterback, went 68 yards in the first game against Ruston for the Neville score, and he is really going to be a secret. If he can gain yardage on the ground, keep the football, and keep possession of the football for Neville, I think that's going to be a real secret in this ball game.
Defensively, Neville is the much larger of the two teams. The anchor is defensive end Courtney Wallace.
And I'll tell you, Tim, it's going to be very interesting because Courtney Wallace on one end of the line and on the other end of the line, Oliver Lawrence really gave Neville a tremendous defensive team. With Oliver Lawrence being injured last week, unable to play with a broken leg, Courtney Wallace is going to be the man that's got to anchor the line. And at 240 pounds, that's a pretty good anchor for any team. But he had an exceptional game against Terrebonne in the playoffs last year, in the finals here. And if he has another outstanding game, I think that Neville stands to shut Ruston down completely.
Ruston does not possess a lot of blue-chip talent, but they do have blue-collar workers, guys that get the job done. Johnny Mays, their hard-running fullback, is certainly testimony to that fact.
And there's certain irony in Johnny Mays. Johnny Mays gained over 1,600 yards this year, averaging 135 yards a game. He's number 24, and he's going to have his hands on the ball an awful lot tonight. But the irony of it is that in the first game, Johnny Mays scored the touchdown on a reception from Dexter Sims. So he also is a pass catcher. They'll throw him out in the patterns. He had another opportunity, incidentally, during that game. He was wide open, and Christian Lewis overthrew him slightly. But he's someone they'll use running the ball and receiving it, and he's a threat to go all the way.
There's a very familiar name in Ruston, Louisiana, to those that follow football. The name is Slaughter. Mickey Slaughter was an All-American. He played with Louisiana Tech. He had a great career with the Denver Broncos, and he has a son by the name of Michael that's a heck of a linebacker for Chick Childress' team.
And what do you think they'll say about Mickey, that he a quarterback, trains his son to be a tight end and a linebacker, and Michael Slaughter is the leader of that defensive team. He has had an exceptional year. He might have a great arm, I don't know, but Mickey wanted him to get involved in the rough and tough part of the football game, and he certainly has done that. He anchors a tough Ruston defense, and you've got to give them credit. They kept the Bearcats in the first game with Neville. They've played very well throughout the entire season and kept them in many football games. And you really have to think that a high school football team that has defensive players by the name of Payne, Slaughter, and Storms is going to give the other team an awful lot of problems.
Well, there are no storms inside the Superdome. 72 degrees it is and will remain. It should be a great one. The Neville Tigers and Ruston Bearcats for all the marbles in the Quad A State Championship. And we'll be back with the kickoff from the Superdome in just a moment.
C for Coca-Cola.
2 out of 2 doctors recommend Coca-Cola.
For symptoms of thirst due to intense physical activity.
For advanced cases of thirst, real cola relief from Coca-Cola.
I concur. A big, bold taste to really refresh you. 2 out of 2 doctors agree. No prescription necessary.
You know, I was a great basketball player when I was in college.
1 out of 2 doctors agree.
Guess what I heard my babysitter telling her boyfriend? What? How quarter pounders are made. How? They're fried. But she said Burger King has a quarter-pound double burger, and it's flame broiled. Not fried.
Burger King presents Flame Broiled Doubles, the double hamburger, double cheeseburger, and bacon double cheeseburger. So you never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
What's wrong with frying?
Hello, I'm Dennis Ledbetter, sales manager at Crane Chevrolet. With plain talk about a big difference, the Crane difference. At Crane Chevrolet, our goal is to give you, the customer, the most value for your hard-earned dollar. Here are a few examples of the Crane difference. A 1985 S10 pickup equipped with many standard features for only $59.95. Or how about a new luxurious 85 Grand Prix for only $99.75? Take the 20-minute ride and discover for yourself the Crane difference. You'll be glad you did. Crane Chevrolet owes Pontiac, Highway 80 West, Rayville.
A lot of decisions have to be made in the early hours following a fire. Before the smoke settles, call Wild Cleaners for the first and most important decision you'll make in preserving your home and its contents. Though only a portion of the house may be damaged, smoke odors and soot have settled throughout the entire house, causing permanent damage if not removed promptly. At Wilds, we'll help you with all the decisions from smoke removal to rebuilding. Fire is devastating. After the fire, call Wild Cleaners. Our service is 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the Superdome. The Superdome Classic 4 about to culminate with the kickoff by the Ruston Bearcats. They're decked out in red. The team at the top of your screen there. And it will be for Ruston kicking off Chris Wyatt. And dropping back deep for the Tigers, it's Maurice Nelson, who also handles the quarterbacking. Taft Kirkendorf is also in the same general area. But Nelson is such a great athlete and can do so many things that Charlie Brown, the Neville coach, can ill afford not utilizing him as a special teamer. They squib it to keep it away from him, and it's picked up by Johnny Williams, a wide receiver and tight end, and he gets the ball up to the 37-yard line. A 5-yard return of the squib kick, and it's first down and 10 yards to go for the Tigers. Pretty good field position to start with, Doug.
Well, Ruston gave them the good field position with the squib kick. Wyatt, interesting story. You see the Neville offensive line, and that line is really the secret to their running game because they're not going to throw the ball much, if at all, although this may be a surprise. And Maurice Nelson, the man that needs to keep the ball and gain yardage for Neville. They've got a stable of running backs. They'll run in and out the entire ball game.
All right, it's a straight T formation, and we had perhaps some encroachment, but I believe the defensive end, McCray, got back in time. The handoff went to Kenneth Ray Reed. Not much there, perhaps a yard, if anything, and it'll be second down and 9 yards to go for the Tigers.
And, Tim, you recall last year's finals against Terrebonne, Neville had the ball and looked pretty lethargic offensively. And, you know, their offense is very basic. They'll run a straight T, and this defensive line is going to have an opportunity to make a lot of tackles because of that straight T offense. But they really blew the game open with the long pass play, and that's liable to happen again.
A fumble Problems with the exchange. Terry McGee lost it back at the 34-yard line. There to fall on top of him for Ruston. Rick Storms, the linebacker. And it will be 3rd down and 13 yards to go as we take another look at this problem spot in the backfield for Neville.
And you see, this is just a cross buck, a handoff that never really got there because the ball was fumbled before possession was gained by McGee. Ruston in with a good defensive play, but it's exactly the type of thing that gave Ruston the first victory. Neville self-destructed. Basically, they weren't able to hang on to the football.
Have a slot right. Nelson rolling, looking to throw, and it's complete. And it's Blake Wilcox, and he's going to go all the way for the touchdown. Charlie Brown wasted no time going up top, and usually when he does, he makes it count.
And Tim, I'll tell you, that's the type of thing that you're going to see Neville do. As last year, they'll come up with an unexpected pass play, and they throw the ball so seldom that it is very effective. You see the fake handoff, and that's one of the base plays that they run the fake off of. Nelson has to be given credit because he threw a perfect pass right down in the seam. It was in a spot where it could not be defended because Blake Wilcox had gotten into that seam. Ruston had the play covered about as well as they could, but I don't think that Maurice Nelson's arm was given enough credit. Excellent play for Neville, and really a strong way to start the football game.
Tim Pettingill will try for the point after. That's been a problem for Neville over the years. It's no good off to the right, and we've got a timeout here at the Superdome, and we're only a minute and 30 seconds deep, and already the Tigers are on top by 6 in the Superdome Classic 4.
To dribble from New York to L.A., you've got to have a dream.
Converse.
Converse, the official athletic shoe of the 1984 Olympic Games.
There's just got to be a place where I can find a car with payments I can afford. I can't find it.
You haven't been to Scott Dixon.
What I need is a real nice, clean, used car at a low price. I can't find one anywhere.
You haven't been to Scott Hickson.
If you haven't been to Scott Hickson, you haven't shopped for a car.
If you haven't been to Scott Hickson, you haven't shopped for a car.
We're your kind of people.
There's a good look at the fine kicker for the Neville Tigers who missed the extra point just moments ago. Tim Pettingill. And he will kick off back deep for the Ruston Bearcats. Ronald Stringfellow. There's a good look at him in single safety. A couple of up backs are down there with him. Among those, Johnny Mays. 66 yards, the touchdown aerial from Maurice Nelson to Blake Wilcox, and Neville on the board in a hurry. Remember now, these two teams played, and it wasn't that long ago. About 5 weeks ago, they played in that pivotal battle that ultimately led to the 3 Quad A championship.
But you remember it started much the same way. Neville scored early in the game on the 68-yard run.
And at the moment, it looked as if the recovery had been made by Freddie Caldwell, but they ruled Mays down at the 26-yard line. He gained about 4. It'll be 2nd and 6 as you look at the defensive forward wall. Courtney Wallace, Alfonso Williams, Freddie Caldwell, and Chris Johnson. He's the guy that's in there for Oliver Lawrence.
And Tim, watch Chris Johnson, the other end who's replaced Lawrence. Ruston, I think, is going to try to find out pretty quickly how effectively he replaced him, possibly by trying to sweep and trap on that side.
2nd down, 6 yards to go. Lewis fires and finds his man. That's Scott Lautiger. Scott Lautiger's got it up to about the 33-yard line, and that's enough for the first down. Maurice Nelson was there to make the stop for the Tigers. The first down of the game for the Bearcats. And they will have to answer Neville's challenge, and it appears both teams are willing to pull all stops.
And that's a phase of the game Ruston will have to concentrate on. They had open receivers in their first meeting. Christian Lewis missed him a couple of times, but I think that they're going to go back and give it another shot here tonight.
That's Houston in motion, and Johnny Mays follows Houston. He's up to the 38-yard line. Wallace and Caldwell, among others, on the pile for Neville. Gain of 4, and it's going to be 2nd down and 6 for the Bearcats. Remember now, Ruston, a team that many believe does not have the overall talent up and down the roster of the Neville Tigers, but they have been a team that has really gelled together as one unit, both offensively and defensively.
Well, Coach Chick Childress said before the season that if they went 7-3, that would be considered successful. But they've obviously gone better than that, and a chance to do even better.
Slot right, and the pitch goes to Johnny Mays. A dandy block by Sims, and Mays is to midfield and has a 1st down. 13 yards on the carry. Again, Maurice Nelson made the stop, and without the speed of Maurice Nelson in the secondary, thus far, Neville have given up a couple of big plays.
And Maurice Nelson's going to get worked over. There you see an excellent block, and Mays gets out and turns the corner. Nelson has to come up, fight through a couple of blockers to make the tackle, but you got to remember, he also has to play quarterback, and that's a tough assignment for him to run the ball as much as he has to and come up and make those tackles in the secondary.
They mark the ball at the Neville 49. Dexter Sims up the middle for a hard-fought 5-yard gain. Among others, Kenneth Ray Reed and Jim Tenor on the stop for the Tigers. Again, good yardage gained on 1st down, Doug. It'll be 2nd and 4.
Tim, the Ruston Bearcats are going to make sure that Chris Johnson, who has come in to take the place of Oliver Lawrence, has an opportunity to play some football tonight because they are running right at him. They're sending everybody out there. They're trapping him, leading with 2 backs into the hole, making sure that Chris has an opportunity to see some contact early in this ball game.
Up the middle it goes, and not much there. Mays again, and Freddie Caldwell wrapped him up. Tenor is now playing that defensive end position where it was vacated by Lawrence for the Neville Tigers. It's going to be 3rd down and a long 3, call it 4 yards to go. 3rd down and 4 for Ruston. The ball resting squarely in the middle of the field here at the Superdome at the Neville Tiger 43-yard line. The wide receiver in the game right now is Robert Smith. Todd Houston, the recipient of that flare pattern, and he's decked at about the line of scrimmage. Not much room there, and again, Maurice Nelson along with James Hall there to make the stop. At that time, it appeared, Doug, for the moment that they may have a flea flicker sending Smith on the fly pattern, the wide receiver.
And they will do that, although I don't know how intentional it is. A lot of the passes thrown by Ruston will be very close to being laterals, and if they went ahead and designed the play to make it a lateral, they will throw it with the halfback. And Sims, you recall, threw that touchdown in the first game to Mays.
Back to punt is Christian Lewis, and we've got markers down.
Christian Lewis with an average of about 35.6 yards a kick. But before the game, I think he was pretty pumped up, ready to play in this football game because he was about 10 yards above his average on most of his warm-up kicks.
Well, he's a good athlete. Chick Childress would be the first to tell you that when he takes a good look at the overall athletic capability of most of his talent, Christian Lewis has to rank up there in the upper echelon for Ruston. He can run adequately, has got a good strong arm, as Doug has already alluded you towards, and he can also punt the ball extremely well. He took the 5-yard penalty just to give himself a little more room for the punt to Nelson, and it might have been a great decision. Nelson inside his 10-yard line does get it up to the 11. But again, bad field position for Neville. Lewis with a 42-yard boot and a 4-yard return as the Tigers prepare to take over.
And Lewis with that excellent kick. Nelson, I think, had he known how deep he was in his own territory, might have let the kick go. But as high as the punt was, it probably was a good choice to catch it and run it out. He made a pretty solid return just to get it outside of the 10-yard line. But this is obviously a much better place for Ruston's defense to start than they were after the opening kickoff.
One of the guys to watch for down here, Doug, is Russell Davis, the big fullback, a power runner. He gets the mail this time. Darts off the left side for about a yard or so. Markers are down. thrown in the line of scrimmage area.
Well, Tim, I tell you, at the very beginning in the first series, Neville appeared to be drawing, I don't want to say drawing Ruston offside, but Nelson with his cadence apparently was making Ruston jumpy, because in the first series on a couple of plays, the defensive line jumped off and got back before the snap. This time they did not. They jumped off sides, the ball was snapped. It's going to cost them 5 yards, and they ended up making a good defensive play. So this is going to be a penalty that hurts them. It should be second and about 10. As it is, it's going to be first and 5.
Russell Davis coming out of the game now. Gray Reisinger will replace him as you get a good look at Mike Slaughter, the middle linebacker, and the rest of the Ruston defensive front. Nelson calls his troops to order. And it will be first down now at 5 after the offsides penalty called against the Bearcats. That's Reisinger. Reisinger has not carried the ball a great deal this year, but that's always the case with Charlie Brown. He always finds a couple of guys in the playoffs that are overachievers. He gets the ball up to the 21-yard line, just shy of the first down, it appears. It'll be second down at about 1.
Tim, he certainly does downplay the talents of his athletes. He was asked to furnish information on who his outstanding players were, and he says, well, you know, we really don't have any outstanding players. And he was asked to give information about who his top ball carriers were, and he said, well, we really don't have any top ball carriers. He's got so many of them, I guess they're all outstanding.
A slot left, and Nelson on the bootleg will have the first down and makes the proper move, stepping out of bounds at the 25. Running him out was Todd Viator, the cornerback for Ruston. And he was also aided there by Greg Anders. But it is a first down for Neville, and again, the ball is at the 26-yard line. That's the official spotting yardage area of the football. Nelson, again, really got a unique quirk in his offensive scheme, Doug, and perhaps during the course of this game we'll be able to show them just what we mean when we say a strange quirk in the way he handles the Neville Tiger offense. Setbacks are split again. The cadence a factor, and the handoff goes to Terry McGee. McGee to about the 28-yard line. Let's talk a little bit about Nelson and what he tries to do to shield the defense.
And I'll tell you, the previous play when he ran the keeper, it really highlights the quirk you're talking about, Tim. The keeper is the play that he scored on 68 yards the first meeting with Ruston. And it's very difficult for the linebackers in the defensive secondary to see Maurice Nelson. First off, he is a pretty short fellow. He's about 5'8". Then, when he takes the snap, he bends his knees, and from the defensive secondary, he is lost sight of, and that's the quirk. And if he keeps the football, it's tough for them to see where he's coming from.
Again, the bootleg to the opposite side. Slaughter would have no part of it. Michael Slaughter stayed home and dumped Nelson back at the 25. That's a loss of 3, and will set up third and a passing situation for the Tigers.
Well, you know, the son of a quarterback would know all of the quarterback's tricks. Michael Slaughter, not at all fooled by any trickery tried by Maurice Nelson. He makes the excellent play, and he has made the excellent plays all year that have really let the Bearcats defense make big plays on second and third downs and put the opposing team in a difficult situation.
Third down, 11 yards to go for Neville. The ball at the 25. Had some premature movement, it appeared, in the Neville offensive front. Now the flags are dropping. Johnny Williams, the left end, appeared to have made a premature move there for the Tigers. That is the case, and that will set them back 5 more and set up third down and 16. There you see the road to New Orleans for Neville. They beat Green Oaks. They lambasted Captain Shreve of Shreveport, then shut out New Iberia 41-0, and then clubbed West Jefferson 47-7. And the Ruston Bearcats, there you see their wins over Southwood, Woodlawn, Opelousas, and Central Lafourche. That last game played at Central Lafourche was a tough one. Again, Nelson fumbles the ball back inside the 20 at the 16. The fake was so good, Nelson lost the ball, and it will be fourth down and 19 and punt time for the Tigers. Rick Storms there to make certain that the quarterback Nelson got no farther.
And this is good faking. This is off of a counter play, and he keeps the ball. You see, he's very lucky to get back on it. Ruston with exceptional defense. They had the play smelled out from the very beginning. Give an awful lot of credit to Tony Houston, who is probably, as you mentioned, Tim, the outstanding athlete on this football team. Great offensive and defensive player.
He's only a junior, and the scouts are already going crazy. The punt, not a good one by Neville's Grant Etheridge. And out of bounds it goes, and Ruston will have it at the 41-yard line after only a 27-yard punt. A timeout on the field. Our score, the Neville Tigers 6, the Ruston Bearcats nothing.
Remember when you were in love and time stood still, when music told a story and the story it told was yours. KMBS remembers and plays the music that can carry you back through all the years, the times and places, the smiles and tears, the music, the memories, and even a touch of today. KMBS AM 13, music and memories, yesterday and today.
CB Discount Supply is offering great holiday specials on electronic gift ideas. Save $40 on this Cobra cordless telephone, sale priced at $99.95. Features include a 9-number dialer, 2-way intercom, and 1,000-foot range. Bearcat weather monitors are sale priced at $44.95 and have built-in storm alarm. CB radios are sale priced just $54.95 and up, and many other special holiday values now at CB Discount Supply, serving the Arklamists for over 9 years from 305 Natchitoches in downtown West Monroe.
While we were away, Johnny Mays took off on a 24-yard run inside the 20-yard line to the 19. Here's another look at a great run by this tough-running fullback from Ruston.
And Mays, you see, lined up behind the quarterback in the fullback formation, and it didn't look like he was going to go anywhere. And it looked like he was going to fumble, but you see what a tough runner he is and why he gained over 1,600 yards. Pulled down finally, otherwise he would have scored the touchdown. Fine play by Kirkendorf in order to avoid the touchdown, but from that play, if that's any basis, Ruston looks like they've gotten back into this ball game with a good field position, good defensive play, and at the moment, at least, it looks like they're going to take advantage of those two things and take the ball in to get some points up on the scoreboard.
Already for Mays, he's carried the ball 5 times, and he has 48 yards. Just another day at the office. As you see Christian Lewis coming back onto the field, the 6', 175-pound senior quarterback for Coach Chick Childress's club. He sends Robert Smith wide to the top of your screen, and a slot right. Todd Houston in the slot. 4-man front from the Neville Tigers. Lewis finally runs out of terrain inside the 20. They'll mark it at the 18-yard line. A gain of about 3 yards, where it will be second down and 8 yards to go.
And Lewis had Robert Smith in the end zone. He had run a corner pattern, and Smith was open enough, but Lewis, running to his left and being a right-handed thrower, never could get his shoulders turned around enough to be able to throw the football upfield. You know, those coaching will stress over and over and over again to those quarterbacks to get immediate depth on that sprint out so you can get turned up and throw the football. He almost had the opportunity there.
Laudiger has single coverage, and there goes Dexter Sims inside the 5 to the 3. 14 yards for Dexter Sims. Maurice Nelson and Jim Tenor made the stop.
And the way this game has started is much different than the first meeting. Of course, in that first meeting, Neville scored early, but Ruston really never did move the ball as well as they have in this drive consistently. Dexter Sims, excellent running back. He takes the ball on a counter, coming around the right side. He gets the open field that he needs, almost scores. As it is, they've got first and goal inside of the 5.
Todd Houston, touchdown. Tony Houston with the touchdown to give Ruston its first points at the game, and it's 6-6.
And you've seen 3 outstanding running backs. This is just a power play. The two backs lead into the hole. Mays and Sims lead up in, blast the hole open, and Houston follows them in for the touchdown.
Wyatt in to try the extra point out of the hold of Lewis. We have markers down, so hold everything. All looks good for a moment, but we do have an infraction, and we'll wait. Apparently, it will be against Ruston, much to the dismay of Chick Childress along the sideline. procedure appears to be the call.
Well, there you see barefoot Chris Wyatt. He's going to have another opportunity to try that extra point. Interesting thing about Chris, he kicks his extra points and his field goals without a shoe or a sock on his foot, but he also kicks off, and he puts both a shoe and a sock on. There he's got his foot taped up. I don't know if that's to protect from the blisters or if that's to cover the blisters.
You were a kicker. You should know.
Well, I didn't kick that way. We used to kick with toes back when I kicked.
Maybe that's the problem. See, what you probably should have done is go ahead and cut off the circulation. With the tape, you might have been a big-time kicker, Morrow.
Well, you know, they made us wear shoes, too. They wouldn't let you take your shoes off back then.
Why? And again, we'll make it interesting here. It will be now a 25-yard attempt for the extra point. It's sailed, and it's no good. Big play and a big penalty that certainly aids the Neville Tiger cause. With 1 minute and 57 seconds now left to play in the first quarter, it's a 6-6 tie between these two Titans from Northeast Louisiana. So far, it's been everything that we expected and then some, Doug.
Well, more you would think than the first game evidenced. These two teams have taken off tonight. They've both moved the ball. They've tried different things than they tried in the first meeting. And the offense has been exceptional. 43 yards there for Ruston in what? 44 seconds. That's not a very much ball control offense. You know, the coaches will say, well, here's our game plan for the game, man. We want to get the football, and we want to drive down and score, but be sure you use up 15 minutes doing it so they can't get it back. 44 seconds won't accomplish that.
Ruston has netted 73 yards rushing. Neville, 1 yard. Now, of course, accrued in that net 1 yard are a couple of sacks and some fumbles that caused that statistic to be what it is. But for Neville to be effective with that wing T formation, they've got to get good running, and I think Russell Davis being shut down early is a real key. He's the big guy that usually just blunders through the line 5 and 6 yards at a chunk. Myers kicks off not only with his shoe on, but his socks are on as well. And taking it for the Tigers is Kirkendorf. Kirkendorf up to the 33 before being pushed back by a horde of red jerseys. A 10-yard return. And Neville has it again with decent field position. They'll mark the ball now at the 35.
26 points a game margin of victory for the 1984 Tigers. And remember, that's the team that Coach Brown says, well, we don't have any outstanding people. 19 points is not bad for Ruston, but 26 is pretty solid.
They were ranked 7th by USA Today this time a year ago. They were in the top 25 by USA Today for most of this season, the Neville Tigers. There's Davis. Davis gets it up to the 40-yard line. Tripped up that time by Storms along with Tony Houston. Russell Davis, who averaged better than 5 yards per carry. There's Charlie Brown. He is indeed a legend in Monroe, Louisiana. His record speaks for itself. Championships last year and also in the 1972 campaign. He's been at the state championship finals many more times than that. And again, we have markers flying. Apparently this time it will be Ruston. The cadence of Nelson seemingly giving the Ruston defense some problems, and has been doing so throughout the entire first quarter, Doug.
It's causing problems, and Ruston is of the opinion that Neville is causing the movement in the defensive line, but all of the penalties so far have gone against Ruston, and they're just going to have to sit back and wait until the snap. But Nelson is giving them an awful lot of problems. That's the second penalty, and there have been numerous occasions when there's been jumping before the snap, and the Ruston defensive line was able to get back just in time. This cost them a first down. It also moved Neville out to just about the place that gives them the opportunity to gamble when they throw the football. Is what they call a gamble, and that's a gamble for Neville, but not the way they've done it here this evening, because they scored a touchdown on their pass.
Byron Earls, you got a good close look at him a moment ago, is the guilty party, the defensive tackle for Ruston. Nelson will throw. Well, he got away initially from Keith Payne, was able to get back to the 44-yard line, but it's still a loss.
And this is going to be an outstanding play. Keith Payne comes upfield, gets good pressure, and then Mitch White from the inside. But both missed Nelson. Nelson, with his quickness, is able to get around both, start to turn it upfield, and then finally tripped up. But still, he turned what should have been a big loss into just a very short loss.
Second down, 12 yards to go. 532 yards rushing for Nelson this year. Again, that cross buck, and it did not cross up Ruston. That time, carrying the mail for the Tigers was Darrell McNeil. Keith Payne again there to make the stop for the Bearcats.
Keith Payne with his second big play in a row. Here you see the counter play again. Payne really stepped over the man trying to block him and was able to trip up the ball carrier.
Well, we've come to the end of the first quarter, and so far, after 12 minutes, we're at a 6-6 stalemate here at the Superdome, and the Superdome Classic 4 culminating with the Quad A championship between these two titans from the River City parishes of Louisiana.
The Louisiana High School Athletic Association is a volunteer organization comprised of 430 high schools in Louisiana. Organized in 1920, the association has been the guiding force behind Louisiana athletics for over 60 years. Today, the association is responsible for over 45,000 boys and 22,000 girls who are involved in high school sports. High school athletics, the master teacher of values.
Why are so many people drinking caffeine-free Diet Coke?
I don't need the caffeine, and it tastes delicious. And when I saw that it was decaffeinated, I thought, wow, they were thinking of me.
Caffeine-free. Sugar-free, caffeine-free. Perfect combination. It's conducive to my own personal lifestyle.
The ultimate soft drink.
Caffeine-free Diet Coke.
Caffeine-free Diet Coke is my drink because it tastes great. Really great. May I have another sip?
Caffeine-free.
In search of the greatest bargains around, Old Bargain Hunter has come to Nolan Rainwater in Ruston for their 7th annual Bargain Hunter sale. You'll find bargains like this 84 GMC four-wheel drive pickup with air, power steering, and brakes and more, not just $99.89. And this great bargain, an 84 GMC custom van loaded with V8, air, power, stereo, and more, only $15,444. All these bargains and more are yours during the 7th annual Bargain Hunter sale in Nolan Rainwater, your GMC wheeler dealers in Ruston.
My new what? Mildred!
Thanks to low-cost O'Neill gas, Mildred is cutting enough off her electric bill to afford the things she's always wanted. And you can use O'Neill gas in ways you may not have thought of, like heating a hot tub.
Malcolm, old buddy, old pal, Mildred says come by anytime.
Ralphie, take your shoes off first. Mildred!
Switch to O'Neill gas today and turn off the high cost of electricity.
Go Cats go, say the Ruston Bearcat fans in all sizes, shapes, but only one color. The red is flowing here in the Superdome. A pretty good crowd considering that both of these teams come from the northernmost reaches of our state. As we start the second quarter, there's a quarterback draw, and there goes Nelson. Was he dumped? Todd Viator came up and just undercut him just as Nelson got beyond midfield. They mark it at the 47. Look at this flying Walinda act performed by Maurice Nelson.
And this is what Neville may very well have to do, is to let Nelson keep the ball a lot in the middle of the field, but they've got to keep him away from Viator. He came up, made the kind of tackle that needs to be made, but it was still good yardage, just not quite good enough for the first down that they needed.
And that makes it 4th down and 4. Nelson says, wait a minute, I don't particularly care for that play call. Not only did we not get the first down, I had to pay a price. The punt is a nice one, and Stringfellow loses it at the 5. They mark the ball down at the 1-yard line, but we have markers down, so we'll have to check that.
And Tim, the marker was thrown at the snap. I don't know who it's against, but it was thrown at the snap. And if this goes against Neville, it certainly is going to be costly for them. The Ruston players indicating that it is offsides against Neville. And certainly, you know, Coach Brown is not going to be very happy about that. That's what it is. It's going to bring it back. They're going to have to punt it again. But more importantly, it's going to cost them what looked like a gimme touchdown with the ball on the 1-yard line.
Take a look at this now.
Now, you're going to see a pretty good amount of coverage, but just the ball was not able to be held by Stringfellow, because he got tackled and swung around and he just lost control of it. Excellent position it would have set the Neville Tigers up in, but you know, those mistakes, the thing that cost them the first game is the thing that really is hurting them tonight. They make the nagging mistakes at critical times, and give an awful lot of credit to Ruston. They have come up with big plays, and particularly defensively, they have gambled a little bit. Michael Slaughter a couple of times with key plays in the backfield, and that's the type of thing that has, I guess, made Neville gamble some. They've thrown the ball twice, successfully once, and they're a team that might have to throw it quite a bit before the evening is over if they want to open up that Ruston defense.
Etheridge again back to punt, and that was a nice punt for him after a 27-yard effort earlier. Of course, that one didn't count, and again, here's a poor punt. Fair catch is called for and taken by Scott Laudiger. The up back for Ruston, and that punt only measured 19 yards.
And what a difference in those two. Ruston with possession on their own 34-yard line. If the previous play had stood, it would be Neville with possession on the Ruston 1-yard line. You think small things don't turn games around. That small thing of being offside at a time when it really wouldn't have made any difference. That's what cost them.
Tony Houston, who scored the touchdown, gives some motion. Lewis with the handoff to Dexter Sims. Only Nelson could stop it. Sims for the touchdown.
And this Ruston team has really broken it open. Here you see a crossbuck. Mays leads to the right side, and Sims steps behind him to the left, breaks into the open field, and then sticks his shoulder down, runs over Nelson, does a good job of outrunning everyone else. He outran at the final part of the play, and it didn't make any difference. Mike Elam was tackling him in the end zone. Here you see the play again. He ran over the first tackler, broke into the open field, and watch this nice move. Nelson's fast enough to come over and make an effort, but Sims is able to pull away for the touchdown. A big play and excellent running.
And then they go for two, and Mays can't make it convert. So they fail to convert on the two-point opportunity. And we have a timeout on the field with a lot of excitement here at the Superdome. Our score now, the Ruston Bearcats 12, the Neville Tigers 6.
For Dr. Tom Oakner, whose temper kicked off every time his engine ran on, Gulf prescribes the gas with guts to help stop engine run-on. For David Garcia, whose diesel rabbit couldn't get hopping, the Gulf's green filters his fuel for starts quick as a bunny. For Arthur Harris, whose unleaded gasoline left him cold, there's Gulf's gas with guts with extra octane for quick pickups.
Gulf, everything we do makes driving better for you.
Whispering Pines Mobile Home Sales will not be undersold by anybody. Here's proof. Nick Mansour, owner of Whispering Pines, has a 1985 14x80 mobile home with 3 bedrooms for only
$12,995.
How about plywood floors,
cathedral ceiling,
garden tub, and many extras
for only $12,995. Plus, it's fully carpeted.
That's a 1985 14x80 3-bedroom mobile home for only
$12,995, or 2 bedrooms for only
$89.95.
Plus, free delivery and setup at Price Busters. Whispering Pines Mobile Home Sales, I-20 Shooter exit number 93 in Louisiana, and the old Skyview Drive-In in El Dorado.
Nick will not be undersold.
6 years at the helm for Chick Childress for the Ruston Bearcats as a head coach after years as an assistant under Charlie Brown. His team now has a 6-point lead. Childress, an interesting study as you look at Dexter Sims along the sidelines after that magnificent run for the touchdown to give Ruston the lead. Childress has been named in his 6 years, Doug, 3 times District 3 Quad A Coach of the Year, State Coach of the Year once. Charlie Brown across the way would say, well, he had a good teacher. But then again, both Childress and Brown would tell you that the guy that really affected them most in coming up at Neville was Bill Ruppel, athletic director there for years. Nelson finally gets the ball at the 10. He's in deep trouble and is buried at the 12. First down and 10 for the Tigers, and now Ruston with all of the momentum.
And that's caused, ironically, by the fact that Ruston does not have what I call a strong kicking game, that is in the place kicking. Wyatt kicked a field goal that ended up being the margin of victory in the first game. And there you see something that did not occur in the first game. Ruston did not overpower Neville the way that they have done here this evening, but they've overpowered him at least so far. But on the kickoff, the kick landed short, but took a good Ruston hop, and it scooted right past Nelson. He was not able to get the handle on it. Consequently, the ball is deep in Neville territory.
An end zone look at Terry McGee breaking it himself. Stringfellow finally horse collars him at the 48-yard line of Ruston. 39 yards.
And they're going to tack on another 15 to that. I think the official is going to call a face mask on the tackle. And certainly there was a grab up around the helmet. I don't know if it was the shoulder pad or the face mask. The official felt it was the face mask, and certainly he was right there watching it and got a good look at it.
Well, Stringfellow had to catch him one way or the other. Here's another look.
And you're going to see the handoff. The play starts out to the right side, but it's a good cutback, and the cutback is what makes the play go. McGee breaks in the open field. Stringfellow is able to get near him by the sideline. It looks there like he had him by the collar of the shoulder pad rather than by the face mask. But the official was located behind McGee. From his vantage point, he was satisfied that it was a face mask, and that's what's important. He threw the flag, and the yardage is going to be assessed against the Ruston Bearcats.
There you see the officials now locked in conclave discussing the issue. Perhaps they're trying to discuss now just in fact where the infraction took place. Or perhaps he gave the wrong signal.
Well, you know, this is what's interesting. The face mask
he must have given the wrong signal.
Well, he said face mask. But has penalized the team against whom the penalty was called.
Our producer-director tonight, Keith Samples of Lower Mars Sports, says he wants the maritime. This one is going to go right down to the wire. We've got every indication that that will take place tonight. These two teams just know one another too well, know their tendencies, and know one another's tendencies. Maurice Nelson on the bootleg stiff arms his way to the 43-yard line before being run out of bounds by Stringfellow and Tony Houston. 5-yard pickup. And it will be second down and a short 5 yards to go for the Tigers. 10 minutes and 9 seconds left. There's a good look at Chick Childress.
And if Chick's team keeps playing the way it's been playing, it's going to be a long night for Maurice Nelson. He's got to run the ball a lot for Neville to have an opportunity to score points. And the way that Ruston's backs have been breaking into the secondary and Maurice Nelson playing in the secondary, he's going to be involved on a lot of tackles. So he's going to be a tired young man before this evening is over.
McGee in a slot right. There's a look at Nelson now. And there's the handoff. Darrell McNeil. McNeil down to the Ruston 40-yard line. Stringfellow again in hot pursuit defensively for Ruston. But a 16-yard gain for Darrell McNeil, and Brown just keeps bringing in running back after running back, and now the yardage being picked up.
And this is one of those base counter plays, and it's the play that you'll see them run an awful lot. And you saw the excellent lead block by Courtney Wallace. Not only an outstanding defensive player, but an also outstanding offensive blocker. You saw him downfield making the key block that opened up that long gainer.
Terry McGee in a slot right. Handoff goes up the middle to Russell Davis. There to make the stop, Chuck Jones along with Michael Slaughter for Ruston. And the Bearcats shaking and baking because his team is up by 6.
That looks like Bert Jones. Is he down here at this ball game?
Something tells me that Bert is, if he's not here, he's somewhere watching this game. Probably close to Ruston, Louisiana.
Probably very close to.
It's also the home of Michael Brooks, I think. They played at Ruston High School. Bert Jones made millions this year just saying that. McGee inside the 35 to the 34. Rick Storms made the stop. When you consider the wealth of talent that has come from these two teams, and we jokingly talked about Michael Brooks, the fine linebacker. Neville who? Ruston has produced some great talent. The Ruston rifle being one of those, and many others. But just 2 years ago, as a great example, for the LSU team this past year, Michael Brooks from Ruston and Toby Caston from Neville both played in the championship game 2 years ago in the same building. McNeil again to the 30-yard line. Mitch White made the stop.
And Neville is starting to have some consistency in their offense, something that was lacking early in the game. The touchdown they scored on a long pass play, but remember that was on a 3rd and 13. They have moved the ball very well this drive. They've overcome the 15-yard penalty, and they seem to have gotten their offense back together, and you can bet that that guy is going to make sure they get it back together. Some of those fellas, he may not let them come out of the ball game until they gain some yardage.
We were talking about Brooks just moments ago, and Caston. J.R. Ambrose now of Ole Miss. Laurent Ambrose of Tulane also played for the Neville Tigers just 2 years ago. Handoff up the middle, Davis. Russell Davis wrestles inside the 25 to the 24. Michael Slaughter making the stop. Now Davis beginning to pick up the yardage, and you can see now the momentum and the offensive yardage being picked up on the ground the way Charlie Brown would like it in this particular drive. 2nd down and 4 yards to go for the Tigers.
And that's, of course, what he wants to do. He wants that ball control offense. He wants to keep the ball. He wants to score a touchdown every time he has possession. But because of the explosiveness of that Ruston offense, he's got to keep it away from them.
Slot left with Kenneth Ray Reed in the slot. Davis again burrows inside the 20 to the 19. Markers fly. Again, the indication would be that it will be marked off against Ruston. The preliminary indication, a personal foul of some sort.
Well, I don't know. You know, based on the earlier call, maybe they're calling a personal foul on Russell Davis for running too hard in the secondary. Certainly that's going to be a penalty very detrimental to Ruston's cause, because Neville is doing a pretty good job of getting the ball down there on their own. They don't need any assistance at this time. Ruston has played very, very well defensively here this evening. They've made big plays when they've had to, and they will have an opportunity to come up with a big play on this drive, because Neville has looked really awesome, Tim, in controlling the ball from deep in their own end of the field to where it now sits.
For the benefit of those of you that just joined us, and there is the indication, personal foul against Ruston. Blake Wilcox caught a touchdown pass of 66 yards from Maurice Nelson on the Tigers' first possession to give Neville a 6-0 lead. Ruston then came right back. Houston with a touchdown run, Tony Houston. 3 yards, as you see penalties there. Neville 3 for 25, Ruston 4 for 28, but this last one awfully significant, marking the ball down to the 8-yard line. And then Dexter Sims took off, and no one could catch him for a touchdown on Ruston's last possession to give them the 12-6 lead. And the lack of kicking game for both teams has caused the score to be 12-6 at this point. With a timeout, with 7 minutes and 47 seconds left to play in the second quarter, the Superdome Classic 4 is a 12-6 count. The Bearcats on top.
When was the last time you heard a song by Nat King Cole, the Ames Brothers, Dionne Warwick, Duke Ellington, the Andrews Sisters, New Vaudeville Band, Teresa Brewer, Tommy Dorsey, the Carpenters, Eddie Howard, Ziggy Ellman, Frankie Lane, Fifth Dimension, Vaughn Monroe, Benny Goodman, Neil Diamond, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Johnny Ray, Harry James, Johnny Mathis, Bing Crosby? When was the last time you listened to KMBS?
Gentlemen, M. Vincent specializes in assisting you to select just the right gift to salute the lady in your life, whether for casual moments around the fire during the holidays or for the professional lady attending luncheons and business meetings, or that elegant look for all those festive holiday occasions. This Christmas, let M. Vincent's help you salute the lady in your life. Cheers. M. Vincent's, 1401 North 19th, Monroe.
Now's a good time to say thank you, a big thank you to Tommy Henry, Commissioner of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association, and many of his staff members, including Max Chauvin, for all of their help in helping prepare us for this telecast tonight. Our statistical data being handled ever so expertly by Randy Hayden. And our crew tonight doing a marvelous job for Lorimar Sports. And there's a great run. Down to the 1-yard line goes Kirkendorf. Tapped Kirkendorf down to the 1, and a bevy of blocking, and it's obvious they're going to run behind Courtney Wallace all night, Doug.
And they should. Courtney Wallace caves in absolutely the left side of Ruston's defensive line. Kirkendorf, with all the running room that he needed, and then does a pretty good job on his own of bowling over would-be tacklers down near the goal line. 2nd and goal, but with another play anywhere near that type, it's going to be a touchdown coming up right now.
Jay Garrett made the stop on the prior play. 2nd and goal. McGee for the touchdown. Terry McGee ties the game at 12.
They made it look easy that time, didn't they?
He waltzed in.
And you know it's not that easy because Ruston's a good team. But you see the excellent blocking. Watch the right side when you get an opportunity of the Neville line. They pull the left guard, but he didn't even have anyone that he had to block. Watch Wallace on the right side. He caves in so that the pulling guard from the left side doesn't even have to block anyone. Give credit to the entire team, but single out Courtney Wallace. He's doing a yeoman's job both ways.
Pettingill's try for the point after again is no good. The question has been asked year in and year out of Charlie Brown teams about the lack of a kicking game. Right now, both he and his former assistant experiencing the same difficulty with the score tied at 12 with just over 7 minutes to play. As awesome as they are, Doug, and both teams at the high school level are certainly awesome, both offensively and defensively, in their own respect. It's hard to understand the kicking game not being right. And it hasn't been right for either team tonight.
It certainly is. And, you know, there's been a movement all over this country with the kids' soccer leagues getting involved. And because of that, you see excellent high school kicking on all levels. Young kids are playing soccer at a very young age, and they come up, and the soccer-style kickers certainly have taken over both college and professional football, and they have gotten down into high school football. So it is a surprise, Tim. I think you're correct, and certainly a good, sound place-kicking game could be beneficial to both teams tonight. But give credit to Chris Wyatt. He's won this game earlier in the season against Neville, and given the opportunity, he may do it again. You know, before the ball game, I was coming up in the elevator, and there was a young 7-year-old youngster named Garland Green, and Garland lives in New Orleans, lives out in Metairie, but he had a big Neville t-shirt. I said, well, you obviously are pulling for Neville, aren't you? He said, yeah, I sure am. I said, who's going to win? He said, Neville. I said, how much? He said, by 42 points. I said, Garland, they didn't score much the first game against these two teams. He says, yeah, but they're going to score tonight. And Garland looks like he knew what he was talking about.
And there goes Dexter Sims up to the 42-yard line. Neither team lacking offense, and the special teams have really done well for both clubs as Sims gets the ball up to the 43-yard line. That last scoring drive, you saw it graphically. 10 plays, 87 yards, capped by the 1-yard touchdown run by Terry McGee. That's just the way Jolly Charlie Brown likes to draw it up, and has drawn it up that way oh so many years in Monroe. That was a textbook drive for Neville High. 12-12 is our score, just under 7 minutes to play in the second quarter. Christian Lewis hands to Mays. Johnny Mays, who has been somewhat absent from the offense here in the second quarter, gets the ball up to the 48. Gain of 5, and it will be second down and 5 yards to go. Richards made the stop for the Tigers.
Well, he's absent from the offense because when they give it to the other two youngsters, Houston and Sims, they score with it. Kind of difficult for Johnny Mays to get an opportunity to carry it when Neville does have possession. He's had an outstanding year. There are a number of great running backs in this football game, but Ruston has 3 in the ball game at any one time, and all 3 of those can break it all the way, as they have demonstrated.
Sims in motion to the top of your screen. Mays just beyond midfield of the 49 as Tenor and Greg Herbert go at it, the tight end and the defensive end. A little extracurricular activity there along the front line. These two teams do not like one another. That's something that we should certainly touch on.
Oh, they like each other. It's just
well, in the off season,
during the football game, yes, you're not supposed to like the other people. You play hard, and it's a contact game, or as the phrase goes, dancing is a contact sport, football is a collision sport, and there's some collisions out here this evening.
This is just the second time in the game that Ruston has faced a third down situation. 3rd down and 2. Markers down, apparently before the play took place. Too much time apparently will be the call. That's the preliminary indication we are getting. And boy, what a mistake for Ruston there. You take a 3rd and 2 and then turn it into a 3rd and 7. I would say Chick Childers would get gray hair, but there's not much hair atop his head, so he would lose more hair, perhaps, with that situation.
Well, maybe losing that. Maybe that spot was caused by exactly this type of situation. That's too much time on 3rd down.
You see, I know Chick real well, or I wouldn't have said that.
Well, I tell you, he's done a great job, but you would be bald and I would be bald if I had to stand up and play against Neville twice a year, every year, in Charlie Brown. That would be a tough responsibility.
Well, that's been the case 2 of the last 3 seasons for these 5 teams. Houston on a slot right. 3rd down and 7, and Lewis will air it out. Incomplete. Nice coverage that time by Taft Kirkendorf. The pass was intended for Scott Laudiger. Laudiger, the more dependable of Ruston Bearcat receivers. They like to throw to him a great deal, but that one a bit overthrown. But again, good coverage and a man-to-man defense by Kirkendorf. It's 4th down, and Lewis will be forced into a punt formation. Back deep, Kirkendorf along with Maurice Nelson. Joel Johnson will handle the deep snap for the Bearcats. Lewis will get it away from his 37. And this one is a beauty. Nelson backtracks to his 7. He's creamed at the 15 amid markers, making the stop Mitch White. 45-yard punt and an 8-yard return, and again Nelson had to pay a price.
And that's about as good a tackle as you can have. There was a penalty thrown at the line of scrimmage. That's going to be against Ruston because there were insufficient men lined up on the line of scrimmage. The right side of the line of scrimmage was backed off the football. But this penalty that was thrown, I'm not sure exactly what it is unless it was that clip, but Mitch White with an outstanding tackle there, and perhaps spearing was called. No, it was the clip.
And illegal procedure back upfield.
And the illegal procedure at the line of scrimmage because of not having sufficient men, 7 men on the line of scrimmage as required. Neville's going to go ahead and take that penalty. That should push the ball back and force the repunt and accomplish what Neville wants accomplished.
Well, that's, I guess, turnabout is fair play, says Charlie Brown. The last time in a punt situation with circumstances reversed, he missed out on a big opportunity at a gimme touchdown.
Well, he's much better off with those offsetting penalties, having a chance to get the ball out a little bit further on the punting game. And Lewis got off an excellent punt that time also.
Well, he has shown a good leg. This punt, a bit end over end. Nelson with room at his 15. Boy, did the gap close quickly. Great play by Keith Payne. Keith Payne, along with Greg Herbert, down there to make the stop. 37-yard punt and a loss of a yard on the return. And with Maurice Nelson back there, that is an accomplishment by Ruston.
And a good job by Herbert because Nelson had put a move on him and it looked like he was able to pull away. Herbert was being blocked at the same time and stuck his hand out, was able to trip up Nelson. So I guess Charlie Brown didn't gain too much by that, did he?
Sonny Smith, Joe Coates, and a number of others. Well, that's one of Charlie Brown's assistants there along the sidelines. And there goes Terry McGee. McGee at the 40. Out of bounds at the 45. Well, Terry McGee is having a career tonight, especially here in the second quarter. That's a 28-yard run. Here's another look, and again, great blocking up front.
And here you see, this is a counter play. You saw everyone pull from the left side to the right, and then the handoff goes back to the left with McGee. Essentially, there was no blocking at the hole. They allowed Ruston's right defensive side to penetrate past the line of scrimmage, ran back up underneath them, and used influence blocks with the lineman pulling to the right. It opened up a big hole. McGee made good use of it.
There's a good look at McGee along with Russell Davis in the Tiger backfield. First down at 10, the ball marked at the 44. There goes McGee again. Another 9-yard gain, this time into Bearcat territory. They'll mark it at the 47. Michael Slaughter made the tackle. How many times have we called that name tonight? Slaughter, along with Mitch White, have done a number. There is Charlie Brown, 34 years, and 12 of those years as a JV coach under then Bill Ruppel, AD and coach. And there is Tony Houston, the injured Bearcat. And that would be a telling blow to the Ruston fortunes tonight.
Well, hopefully he's not too seriously injured. The way he's holding his arm, perhaps he has hurt his shoulder. His arm is somewhat limp at his right side. I hope that he's not injured too badly. And certainly this is going to be detrimental to Ruston's team, but also to Houston. Here you see a handoff. This is the lead block with the offside lineman pulling and a lead back through the hole, and it just opened up wide open. Neville's getting into the secondary. They're picking up the yardage. And you know, Tim, when those big running backs that Neville has can get into the defensive secondary, they really do punish those defensive backs, even someone like Houston, as big as he is.
He may have pinched a nerve here. Watch his neck now as he makes the tackle. The momentum by McGee here.
And that's tough. That's exactly what happens, and I wouldn't be at all surprised. He had a good lick, but when big ball carriers run up against smaller defensive backs, inevitably that's going to happen. Same thing that happens when big linemen grab smaller ball carriers.
Second down, 1 yard to go. Well, they grow them bigger now, don't they? You said smaller defensive backs. He goes 6'2", 180.
And that's high school.
Yes. That's Kirkendorf, a great block. He's to the 35, inside the 30 and down to the Ruston 26-yard line. Slaughter, along with Jay Garrett, running out, tapped Kirkendorf.
And Kirkendorf with a good move to the inside. Keith Welch is pulling in front of him. Welch is number 62. And watch, Kirkendorf steps to the inside to really set up Welch's block for him and then steps back out to the outside. He made the play. The tackle was finally made downfield. Here you see him coming again. He's going to step inside and then back outside, and he picks up about an extra 8 or 10 yards because Stringfellow has to back off with the ball.
And we've got markers down as we come back to live action. This time, the preliminary indication against Neville. We'll wait for the official ruling. And it is proceeding. Nope, offsides against Ruston. Well, Neville's front forward wall, by that time Keith Welch appeared to be upset with himself. I think he felt perhaps he was the guilty party, but that time it was Ruston that got caught. And again, Maurice Nelson varying the cadence, and it has really been a problem for the Ruston defensive front.
Well, it's pretty obvious, Tim, that Neville physically is able to control the line of scrimmage, and that tells Ruston that they've got to be a little bit quicker to the punch and gamble a little bit in order to be effective at that line of scrimmage. And when you do that, of course, you've got to get a good jump on the ball, and that's where they're having problems.
Just over 4 minutes to play in the first half. We're tied at 12, and nada, senor. Up the middle goes Russell Davis, and there was simply nothing there. There you see the clock. Under 4 minutes now with the ball at the 20-yard line. And Houston now, that's good news, coming back into the game. Tony Houston back in after being injured just moments ago. McGee coming in with the play from the Charlie Brown sidelines. Again up front for the Tiger offense, Greg Leroy, Greg McGuff, along with Keith Welsh, Courtney Wallace, and Chris Kuhn. There's a good look at that offensive forward wall. And again, we have problems in the defensive front for Ruston. It apparently was number 77, Charles Wilson. That time it was obvious.
And Tim, we mentioned very early in the game, this is causing problems consistently. And Wilson, that time, was not able to control himself to get back on the line of scrimmage. But those penalties over and over and over again hurt Ruston. But I tell you what hurts Ruston even more. It's that they will be afraid because of the penalties that are called to be on the fingers and be ready to go at the snap. They're going to end up having to sit back and wait to make sure. And that inability to anticipate the snap hurts as much as the penalties, if not more.
8 penalties, 44 yards committed by Ruston thus far. And there's Russell Davis, and the juggernaut continues for the touchdown. Russell Davis picking them up and putting them down. A 15-yard score to give the Tigers a 6-point lead, 18-12 with 3:03 to play in the second quarter.
Well, 5'10", 210 pounds, and here you see just straight blocking. He gets the good opening of the hole, but he doesn't even need that because he runs over would-be tacklers on the way to the end zone, ends up running in, standing up. Russell Davis has turned into a powerhouse in both the inside and outside running game of Neville, has taken control of this contest.
And they'll try for two. Both teams have been inept in the extra point category when trying for the kick. Nelson throws. Wilcox for the two-point conversion. Blake Wilcox, who gathered in the 66-yard strike in the opening drive for Neville, gathers in the two-point conversion, and that for now gives Neville a commanding, if you want to call it such, lead. An 8-point cushion in this kind of a game, you never know.
And that's why people say it's important that you're able to run before you pass effectively, because when you run well, the defense has got to come up and really anticipate. The secondary's got to help, and that makes the pass go. That's why the two-point conversion worked.
Well, there's been a lot of offense in this game, and that isn't to say that Ruston couldn't come right back in the next 3 minutes and 3 seconds and score, Doug, but the bottom line is for the first time a team has come through with a conversion. And if that factor is a factor late, then that play could prove to be pivotal.
Well, certainly good. Those 1 points here and there really do have an important impact in the game. But here you see Neville again with the second long scoring drive. The last one was, what, 87 yards?
In 10 plays.
In 10 plays. This one, 84 yards. And the long drives like that really are important because as far as Neville cares, let them have the ball on their own 5 or on their own 10. They're going to go the length for the touchdown, and that tells Ruston we better get back in this ball game right now. And certainly don't count them out. They've moved the ball well the entire game. They've been impressive, and I'm sure will be more impressive as the evening wears on.
Tim Pettingill, who was a JV kicker at midseason, kicks off, and there's Dexter Sims, and again a fine return by Dexter. Again, flags go down as he spilled at the 34-yard line. Making the stop, James Hall for the Tigers, a 23-yard return by Sims. The infraction, a clip against Ruston, and that will set them back. At halftime, we're going to have a number of features coming your way. Doug Morrow will be talking to members of the hierarchy of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Much has been said and much has been written about the Superdome Classic, the past, the present, and its future. That, among other things, will be discussed. 1984 season record for Ruston, 5-0 in district play. They only lost 1 game to Woodlawn, 9-1. Then they came back to avenge that in the playoffs. Neville 4-1 in district play. And there you saw their overall record. 2 minutes and 56 seconds to play in the half. Mays cut off at the pass nicely that time by Maurice Nelson. Nelson has been playing both ends of the playing field with abandon tonight. Not to mention his special teams work.
Well, he has an opportunity to rest up a little bit on offense now because that running game with the running backs is going so well. The last few drives, he's just handed the ball off and watched them ramble upfield. Earlier in the game, he kept the ball quite a bit himself. And remember, he's made a lot of tackles in that secondary. He's going to be tired.
You look from our end zone camera as Christian Lewis is in deep trouble. Wallace sacks him at the 2. 6 foot, 245-pounder, Courtney Wallace. And that's an agile 245 pounds. The senior offensive and defensive tackle with a brilliant play. And that's the first quarterback sack of the game outside of the mishandled handoffs on the opening drive the Tigers had encountered with quarterback Maurice Nelson.
And Wallace has taken over very well for the injured Oliver Lawrence, both on offense and defense. Remember the excellent blocking that Wallace displayed in the 87-yard drive. Here he comes back with the big play that puts Ruston deep in their own territory.
And again, right up the gap. Ruston now must inch up the field. Dexter Sims gets it up to the 5. Good close look there at Christian Lewis. That's an intense look on that student-athlete's face. And he knows now he's faced with a tough situation. He must punt and punt from his own end zone on 4th and 21. A minute and 53 seconds are left. Had a timeout called. The Tigers, of course, now wanting to stop the clock because they realize that they will get the football back and probably in great field position.
Well, it's got to be in great field position. Even with an outstanding punt, the ball is going to be inside of midfield. And the way that they've been moving the football, the long runs that they have made, it won't take very long for them to cover that distance if they're able to control it and if they're able to block the way that they have the last 2 drives.
2 punts, 39.5 yards the average, his longest 42 yards. You might recall last year, South Terrebonne got off to the early start. Then Neville scored 2 quick touchdowns just prior to halftime to make it from a 7-7 score a 27 count. They never looked back en route to a 40-14 win. There's a parallel there to this situation now, and Lewis with a very poor punt. It will die inside the 30 at the 29. And so the Tigers now with a great opportunity to cash in after the 23-yard punt.
Lewis is very upset with himself, but that's not all of his fault. Neville was coming all of the way. They had the line stacked, and he did a pretty good job just getting the punt off. It could have very easily been blocked. That would have been either 2 points for the safety or a touchdown for Neville. So just getting the ball out and at least making Neville take the ball in that 28 yards is going to at least give them a task that they've got to take over within a minute and 42 seconds.
Maurice Nelson. Very versatile athlete. Rolling and looking for Wilcox again. He opts to run and is inside the 30 at about the 28, and markers fly again. Thrown in the general area of a clip or perhaps a holding violation against Neville. We'll have to wait and check it out officially for you, but that is the indication that we get. And it is a clip, and it is against the Tigers. That does not come at the right time for Charlie Brown's forces with a minute 35 to play in the first half, and his team up by a 20-12 score. Ruston has been penalized 9 times for 59 yards. The Tigers only 3 times for 25. This is probably the biggest penalty of the night registered by Neville. And that will spot the ball all the way back to the 43-yard line.
And certainly it's a penalty that Ruston is happy about. It gives them some breathing room at least until the next play starts. Remember, Neville has ripped off big gainers for the last 8 or 10 minutes, and Ruston's just got to shut those big gainers down. Let them have 4, 5, 6 yards, but don't let them have the big run.
Nelson looking, throwing, and it's knocked away. Great play by Jay Garrett, covering Darrell McNeil on the fly. Johnny Williams was open at about the 5-yard line, and Nelson didn't see him. Garrett made the great play on McNeil.
Well, I think Nelson saw him, but he had someone in his face and couldn't throw the ball. Right here is when he would have had to throw the ball, but he was pressured by Alan Outley and couldn't do it. He had to turn and run back to his right. Jay Garrett with an opportunity, I'm sure, in retrospect, to go for the interception, but saw that what he had to do was knock the ball away. An outstanding play by Jay Garrett to save a possible touchdown.
The 5'10", 145-pound junior safety for Ruston, Jay Garrett. 1:28 to play, 2nd and 25. We're in the second quarter, and Neville leading 20-12. McGee, who meant so much in that 87-yard drive that ended with his 1-yard touchdown, gets the ball to the 40, and the clock continues to tick. 1:16 and counting. It will be 3rd down, still long. 3rd down and 23 yards to go.
Well, you know, they tried to run kind of a draw play there, and remembering Neville's basic offense is just to run at him and let's grind it out against him. And Ruston hasn't been able to stop that. Neville has gone to one long pass and then a draw play, which is not usual for their offense. And I think Ruston would love to have them try those things.
4 receivers are out, and one of those is Nelson, and he's down to the 35. It will be 4th down. Coming into the game and throwing the football was Jim Tenor. Tenor came into quarterback, and they did that a year ago against South Terrebonne, only it was Nelson that came in for Conroy Hines, and then he scampered 40 yards downfield to set up a touchdown as we look at another injured player for the Ruston Bearcats. We have not yet been able to pick up the number of the injured player. If we have the opportunity, we'll certainly pass that information along. As you see Tenor talking with Charlie Brown along with McNeil and Maurice Nelson.
Well, Tim, it appears to be an ankle injury of some type, so that will be obviously much more fortunate than a knee injury or something around the shoulder.
It's Keith Payne, by the way. It's Keith Payne that was injured.
And he's coming down on his own power. Here you see the pass. Nelson makes the catch, tried to make a cutback inside, but an excellent tackle by Michael Slaughter. Slaughter has been all over the field, has stopped runs, has made tackles on passes, and there makes the big play. It's 4th down and about 16 yards, and of course you know that Neville is not going to punt. You know that they can't kick the field goal, and so Ruston just wants to hold them to a gain inside of that 16 yards.
One setback and 4 wide receivers on 4th and 16. Tenor again will throw. He looks, he fires, and it's picked off. Dexter Sims, the interceptor, and he brings it back to the 25. Markers are down. Now, 12 seconds remain. The indication that we get is that the infraction will be against Neville.
It's going to be against Neville. They had, as you said, 4 receivers on the play. They were spread out all over the field. They looked like Mississippi Valley State. But 2 of the receivers on the right side were moving at the snap. They had never become set. The official immediately threw the flag.
It'll be declined, obviously. Ruston will hold on to it, and we will have maybe one more play, and then it will be intermission, and it will be a 20-12 score. Neville on top.
The receivers out on the right were moving, and so the flag was thrown. And here the pass was thrown by Tenor anyway. An interception made by Sims, and he made a fine run back, not too far from going all the way, but Neville, with excellent coverage after the pass blocking, was able to get enough people around the football to make the tackle.
Well, we've already seen that Sims has breakaway capability. He certainly was shot out of a cannon on his long touchdown run. We'll have a halftime recap. We'll have highlights of first half action, interviews, and much, much more coming your way throughout our halftime activities. An opportunity to hear from some fine high school bands, that and much, much more, as Lorimar Sports is proud to be bringing you the Louisiana Superdome Classic 4. And right now, the 2 best teams in the state of Louisiana are locked in quite a battle. The Tigers lead by 8, and we'll return with halftime activities right after this.
Got a taste, but taste for living. Want the best and nothing less will do. Got a taste, and only Coke can match it. Want the best, and I know Coke is it. The taste is good forever. Coke is it, the one that's number 1. Coke is it. There's no doubt about it. Coca-Cola, Coke is it.
Where is he? There he is. So, what was it like? What was it like? The best. Nothing like a fried quarter pounder, because check it out. It's flame broiled.
Burger King presents Flame Broiled Doubles, the double hamburger, double cheeseburger, and bacon double cheeseburger, so you never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
Do you think I could have a double? Follow me.
This is today's Chevrolet.
Come on in, take the wheel, start it up, let the feel of the road roll. Straight ahead, on your own, the lights turn green and you're going on the road goes on. The road goes on. Drive today, Chevy, live today, Chevy.
Dealing time is now at your Northeast Louisiana Chevy dealers' end-of-year sell-a-thon.
Christmas at Graham's, a time for cherished traditions. Visit Graham's for Men today. The finest menswear available now at greatly reduced prices, like a select group of wool and corduroy blazers up to 50% off. Catch Graham's great shoe prices on Bally and French Shriner up to 1/3 off. What better way to start your Christmas shopping than with a sale? Come into Graham's for Men today. Sale dates good through December 8th. Your Christmas at Graham's, a time for cherished traditions. Graham's, 907 North Trenton, Ruston.
Welcome back to the Superdome here in New Orleans, Louisiana at halftime. The Neville Tigers with an 8-point lead, 20-12 over the Ruston Bearcats. Tim Brando along with Doug Morrow. Much yet to come in our halftime activities. But this game has been everything and more, Doug. And while we talk about two ball control offenses, yes, there have been times when we've seen that come to the fore, but we've also seen the element of the big play, and that's what's made it so much fun.
It's been a surprise to me, to tell you the truth. Based upon their first meeting, you would have thought that both teams would be very conservative, if for no reason other than that the coaches know so much about each other. And the type of football both Neville and Ruston play is error-free football. Let's play good, solid defense and make the other team make mistakes, or let them make mistakes, and we'll take advantage. That's not what happened here. They came out early. Neville came out with what for them was a gamble, throwing the ball on third down and long yardage. Maurice Nelson executed perfectly to Wilcox' touchdown. It looked like at that point Ruston was in the hole and might be difficult to get it back out of it, but they got back out of it. They played much better than I think they expected as far as running the ball, and they ripped off big yardage, made the big plays, got back with the lead, and then bingo, we know what happened. Neville took over.
You know, you and I talked prior to this game, and we mentioned that Oliver Lawrence was going to be missed by this Neville team, and it's obvious that a player of that caliber, number 14 for the many of you that know a lot about the Neville Tigers, who is just one of the most highly touted recruits in the nation in his senior year, injured in that West Jeff game. But Neville has more than made up for the loss of Oliver Lawrence, both offensively and defensively tonight, although Ruston has made good use of his absence at times.
Well, you know, the importance of Oliver Lawrence is that he was a big play man in their offense, and he was a solid big play man in their defense. And when you put Wallace on one side and Lawrence on the other side defensively, it's tough to run anywhere against them. That perhaps is responsible for part of Ruston's success running the football. But Neville has made the adjustments that they have needed to make, and offensively, they've forgotten about losing Oliver Lawrence. Let's go back to our basic running game. So where we may have thought that Oliver Lawrence's absence would take away from their big play capability, they simply have given other people in their offense the responsibility. They've used more running backs, and they've thrown the ball when they had to, and at surprise times to make up for it. So they don't seem to have missed him, at least not as much as we thought they would have missed him.
It's ironic that the guy that has replaced him at the tight end position, or at least in the offensive scheme a third of the time, the guy that replaced him at that tight end position, Blake Wilcox, would have one touchdown catch, 66 yards and a score, and then the two-point conversion catch, which right now may be the biggest play in this game.
Well, if you recall from the first meeting between these two teams, Neville had opportunities to win the ball game at the end, and it was due almost completely to two big catches by Lawrence for long gainers, one almost for a touchdown where he was tackled inside of the 10-yard line, and the other that brought the ball down to the 14-yard line right at the end that gave them the first down. They were not able to convert either opportunity, but he's the person who, because of individual ability and big play capability, it seemed they would rely upon. And sometimes when you lose a player like that, a team that's relied upon him for as long as Neville has relied upon him might not find a person to replace him. Wilcox has done a good job, but the entire Neville team has done an excellent job of filling in the void, and really when they were down, being able to come back and take charge in their basic offense and doing what they needed to do. And that's Charlie Brown football.
We're going to take a look now at the statistical data for the first 24 minutes of this encounter, and I think that it will bear out that both teams have had great success, Doug, in almost every phase offensively.
Well, Neville, the passing, of course, is something that you wouldn't expect, but remember, that was largely attributable to the long play. But in total yards, 252 to Neville, and remember that early in the game, there was a tremendous discrepancy. Ruston had all of the rushing yardage. Neville at one time was, what, 1 or 2 yards rushing. Neville came back and amassed most of those statistics in the end of the first quarter and the entirety of the second quarter. So they really have turned the game around.
Not many turnovers, at least turnovers that have led to points. Penalties, well, Ruston has committed 9 for 59 and only 4 against the Tigers for 40 yards, but the one that was a real telling blow for them and really could have given them a great advantage at halftime came in that last drive when they were moved back and then could not come up with any points after starting the drive inside the Ruston 35-yard line. We're at halftime. Our score 20-12. The Neville Tigers with an 8-point lead. Let's go down and pick up some of the Neville High Tiger Fighting Band from Monroe. halftime. The Neville Tigers leading the Ruston Bearcats by a score of 20-12. More halftime activities coming right up after this word from your local stations.
Once upon a time, shortly before Christmas, Santa was having a hard time carrying his load. A friend told him about his chiropractor. Now, Santa Claus is happy, and when Santa is happy, everybody is happy.
Visit the Humble Chiropractic Clinic in Monroe or the Smalling Chiropractic Center in Ruston for a free initial spinal examination.
Enjoy the good feeling again.
Some banks look inviting enough at first glance, but when you try to deal with them, you find that everything and everybody is tied up in a maze of antiqued rules and bureaucratic procedures. Every request, no matter how simple, takes seemingly forever to process.
At Duboc State Bank, we found it being easy to do business with is not only nice, it makes good business sense as well. That's why we cut the red tape and roll out the red carpet for you.
Duboc State Bank, banking for better business.
Hello, I'm Forrest Foster, sales manager here at Natchez Honda Automobiles. As you know, Christmas is right around the corner, and we want to make your car shopping easier by offering you the best deal on a Honda anywhere in the Miss Lou area. If you're looking for a two-door import car, check our prices. You'll see the Christmas spirit reflected here at Natchez Honda. So for the best deal on an import car anywhere in the Miss Lou area, call or come by Natchez Honda Automobiles. We don't sell by gimmicks, we sell by reputation.
Crestline Supply serves the needs of electricians, plumbers, air conditioning dealers, industrial plants, and individual homeowners throughout the Arklamis. Brands at Crestline read like a who's who in top-of-the-line names in plumbing, electrical, heating, air conditioning, and industrial. All at one location, the corner of 18th and Pine Streets in Monroe. For any construction, remodeling, or maintenance needs, visit Crestline Supply, the Big K. Call them at 388-0810.
Home of the Superdome Classic 4 here in New Orleans, Louisiana. Tim Brando along with Doug Morrow and the entire Lorimar Sports crew. Very happy to be bringing you tonight's Quad A State Championship game between the Neville Tigers and the Ruston Bearcats. Let's now listen to the Bearcat Band from Ruston Land. Doug Morrow had an opportunity to speak with the hierarchy of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association, and here's that interview that he had earlier prior to tonight's game.
You know, when I was in high school, I don't know if I would have thought that it was a pleasure to be surrounded by high school principals, but I do have the pleasure here this evening. On my right is Jerry Epperson. Jerry is the principal at Baker High School in East Baton Rouge Parish, my home parish, incidentally. And Jerry was the president of the High School Athletic Association the first year, Jerry, that this classic was brought into the Superdome. You had to run into some problems trying to make the transition. Surely there were some problems, Doug, but the idea itself was developed over 2 or 3 years. Once the idea was developed, the executive committee was convinced that this was the thing to do, to bring the top teams, the cream of the crop in the state of Louisiana, to one location. And this seemed to be the logical place. After we were convinced of that this was a good move, we had to sell it to the membership. And at that meeting, when we sold it to the membership, the vote was very comfortable that we bring it to the Superdome. And has it progressed in the first few years the way that you were hoping? It has progressed. We cannot determine who is going to participate in it, and naturally your attendance is based upon who is playing. Teams from a distance are not going to bring as many people as those would be locally. But it has progressed, and we're just tickled to death that it has progressed to the point that it has. Well, you're the one who got the ball rolling, and you rolled it right over into the court of this fella, Don Dunbar, who is the current president of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Don, this is quite a classic, and you certainly need private sponsorship to help you carry it off.
It sure is, Doug, and I would like to, at this time, thank all the many sponsors who have contributed to making this a success, but especially Diversified Foods, who gives us all the awards for this classic and other events. Piccadilly Cafeterias for giving us the certificates and so forth to our students and coaches, and Coca-Cola of Louisiana, who we instituted last year by picking the most valuable player in this event. It has been a great success so far. We hope that we can keep it here in New Orleans in the Dome, because the students enjoy it. It's a showcase for the LHSAA and the LHSAA. There will be, in our January meeting when the whole body meets, several items on the agenda that maybe we can change and bring it to the all the schools of Louisiana to vote on, because after all, this organization belongs to the high schools in Louisiana, and we want to make it one of the best in the nation.
Well, it looks like you've done a selling job on the people here. They certainly are excited about this game. Thank you for the job that you've done. And Camille Newsom, who is the vice president of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Camille, it must be a great thrill for all of the participants, but also for the spectators and the students to come and enjoy this spectacle.
Yes, Doug, it certainly is. It's a fantastic opportunity for the young people of Louisiana to be able to participate in a class operation like this for a state championship. Our students, whether they're involved in the activities or the athletics, are representing our 431 member schools, and the hard work is worth it to see what joy is in their eyes when they participate in this type of championship.
Well, a class operation certainly has to be run by class people, and I certainly do thank the three of you for all the efforts that you have put in. And I tell you, it was not so bad being surrounded by all of these principals. I've enjoyed it. Thank goodness that these folks are interested enough to give all the students that play in these games and the students that attend the high schools the opportunity to come to a spectacular event such as this. We'll be back with you right after this.
Tonight's Louisiana 4A High School Football Championship. Brought to you by Coca-Cola USA. For big refreshment, Coke is it. And by Burger King, where the double burgers are flame broiled. Just think, you may never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
Folks are coming from miles around to take advantage of the fabulous $500,000 Christmas sale going on right now at Smith's Jewelers in Jonesboro. Bruce and Marion Smith invite you to come on in and help celebrate Smith's 20th anniversary with special discounts up to 60% on their entire stock of quality diamonds, fine jewelry, and gifts, just in time for Christmas giving, or buy now for any future gift-giving occasion. Join the crowd and share the excitement and fantastic savings at Smith's Jewelers, 128 Main Street in Jonesboro.
When you were in love and time stood still, when music told a story and the story it told was yours, KMBS remembers and plays the music that can carry you back through all the years, the times and places, the smiles and tears, the music, the memories, and even a touch of today. KMBS AM 13, music and memories, yesterday and today.
That's what I heard my babysitter telling her boyfriend. What? How quarter pounders are made. How? They're fried. But she said Burger King has a quarter-pound double burger, and it's flame broiled. Not fried.
Burger King presents Flame Broiled Doubles, the double hamburger, double cheeseburger, and bacon double cheeseburger. So you never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
What's wrong with frying?
The Louisiana High School Athletic Association is a volunteer organization comprised of 430 high schools in Louisiana. Organized in 1920, the association has been the guiding force behind Louisiana athletics for over 60 years. Today, the association is responsible for over 45,000 boys and 22,000 girls who are involved in high school sports. High school athletics, the master teacher of values.
The guests looked over, looking best and nothing less will do. Got a look. The Coke looks good with. Want the best and I know Coke is it. Coke is it. Coke. The taste that's good forever. Coke is it, the one that's number one. Coke is it. There's no doubt about it. Coca-Cola, Coke is it.
The Louisiana Superdome has just been filled with some great football. The first 24 minutes of our Quad A State Championship game. Neville, as you can see there, with an 8-point lead, 20-12. And we really had it, Doug Morrow, in every phase of the game. Throwing the ball, running the ball, great special teams play, big plays, and they came in a hurry, especially from Neville.
And you bet, early in the game, 3rd and 13 at a time that it looked like Ruston was going to control at least that phase of the game. The long pass to Wilcox, he gets open in the seam, and Blake Wilcox takes it in for the touchdown. An outstanding opening for Maurice Nelson to Wilcox for the 6-0 lead.
Then Ruston came right back to culminate an 80-yard drive. Tony Houston with the 3-yard touchdown. Again, the kick failed, and it was a 6-6 game. And then another big play for Ruston.
That's right. Dexter Sims takes the handoff. He gets good blocking at the line, but then he makes the run on his own. And watch this cut that he makes against Maurice Nelson. Nelson catches up to him, squares up to make the tackle. Sims shrugs him off, as well as 2 other tacklers, powers his way into the end zone, and it looked like Ruston was off and running.
They had a 12-6 lead, but then an 87-yard drive culminated with Terry McGee's 1-yard run after a great blast from offensive tackle Courtney Wallace paved the way, and we were tied at 12.
And then big Russell Davis, almost all on his own. He busts through the line of scrimmage, gets the seam that he needs, but then makes use of his 210 pounds to run over the last 2 tacklers for the touchdown.
And, of course, then they went for 2, converted, and that's why we're at a 20-12 count with Neville on top. Now, what do you anticipate, Doug, here in the second half from both teams?
Well, if Ruston had the Ruston rifle on their team still, you know what they would do, but they don't. Burt Jones certainly would be a tremendous asset to their team, as he always has been to every team that he's played on. But they don't have the benefit of that. However, I do think Ruston has got to try to throw the ball. They've run the ball well. I don't think that they have run the ball poorly, and I don't think that they're surprised that the score is the way it is from an offensive standpoint. But Ruston has got to put a lot of pressure on Neville's defense, and offensively they might want to try to throw the ball a little bit, get Sims involved in the action a little bit more, get Houston involved in the action.
Christian Lewis has not had an especially great outing in terms of pinpoint accuracy throwing the ball, and as you mentioned, he's got all of the tools. So he might be, as always, the quarterback should be, a real key for the Ruston team here in the second half, because he does possess great talent. Neville will kick off to start things. Tim Pettingill again will squib it out of bounds, and so he'll be forced to do it again. This time he'll have to move 5 yards backwards before he approaches the ball again. And you mentioned that we showed you that run, that 66-yard burst from Dexter Sims. It's interesting and I guess noteworthy. Perhaps it slipped our minds a bit, Doug, but there really hasn't been a long drive from Ruston in quite some time in this game.
No, there hasn't. The 2 long possessions have come from Neville. Ruston has scored on explosive plays, and that very much has been the difference in the game. Whenever you take the ball against a team that is a good ball control team and you score quickly, that's good that you have the score, but when you give them the opportunity to take the ball and drive back down the field, as Neville has done, it's kind of self-defeating. As we've talked, idealistically, the coaches always want you to take the ball, don't gain more than 4 or 5 yards a time, but gain 4 or 5 yards every time so that the other team can't get it. Of course, you can't do that all the time, but Ruston, by giving the ball to Neville so much, really has given Neville an opportunity to score a lot.
It's squibbed again, and Dexter Sims is in the right spot. He's up to the 45 and up to the 48-yard line. Now, that was smart thinking by Chick Childress, a 22-yard return. Neville obviously not wanting to kick the ball deep into the awaiting arms of Stringfellow. All he did was move Sims up about 15 yards into the same corner where the previous kick had occurred. And he took great advantage. First down, 10 yards to go. Ruston starts with great field position. So this This drive, as always, the first drive of the second half, becomes that much more important. Christian Lewis, the quarterback. Not much at all that time. Courtney Wallace was there to polish up on Dexter Sims, who did a decent job of just getting back to the original line of scrimmage. Second down and 10 yards to go. Freddie Caldwell was in to make the stop for Neville. Bringing in the play there, Scott Laudiger. Laudiger, along with Greg Herbert, will be the receiver. With Houston, Sims, and Mays in the backfield behind that guy, Christian Lewis. Second and 10. Lewis under duress, markers down, the pass incomplete, intended for Laudiger at the 48-yard line. Nelson was there to provide coverage along with James Hall for the Tigers.
And of course, we talked about Ruston possibly throwing the ball more, but Christian Lewis will have to have a little more chance to get rid of the ball in order for it to be successful. That really had no opportunity of being very successful. The pass was called incomplete. Nonetheless, there was a penalty on the play, a defensive holding penalty, however, against Neville, and that's going to be a big break for the Ruston Bearcats.
One of the defensive backs was holding Johnny Mays while running a pass pattern. On the replay, you could see it at the top of the screen just briefly, and then it got out of your screen. But that's where the infraction occurred. It will be first down and 10 now for the Bearcats at the Neville 42. Well, that could pad a drive, couldn't it?
Well, you know, if you get a few of those 10-yard penalties, enough first downs will make you a touchdown. I don't think they'd be disappointed in that.
From the ground level, there's Mays, inching his way inside the 40 to the 39, following the blocking of Rusty Hale, the left guard, a 6'4", 225-pounder, senior who does double duty with Lou Love. Freddie Caldwell made the stop. There's Mays.
Mays dragged Freddie Caldwell for 2 or 3 yards. In fact, that constituted the gain. He got hit just about the line of scrimmage and just powered his way down for whatever yardage was made on that play.
Joel Johnson, the center, along with Rusty Hale and Sam Watson at the guards, Byron Earls and Jimmy Rose the tackles, and there's Mays to the 35-yard line. Driving him back were Blake Wilcox, along with Alfonso Williams. Alfonso, pretty big fellow himself, 5'10", 258-pounder. That's number 77. That is a load.
Well, that defensive line is a load, but they continue to run to their left. As a matter of fact, Neville early in the ball game took Courtney Wallace, who lines up normally on the left, and moved him to the right side because Ruston was running there so much.
Third down, 3. Critical play here in this opening drive of the second half. Mays is stopped short of the first down at about the 34-yard line. There was a fumble, yes, and Neville has recovered it. Mays is dejected. It will be Jim Tenor that gets credit for the recovery. There you see number 10 coming off, and here's another look.
Well, here's that handoff. He comes to the left, and he's got 2 lead backs, but he gets hit, and just before he gets down on the ground, the third tackler comes in, knocks the ball away from him. Neville, with tacklers all around the ball, makes a recovery. A big turnover because it gives them the ball at the 35-yard line. At the very least, Ruston would have gotten a punt, and you would think down around the 10-yard line. Of course, it hasn't stopped Neville the last 2 possessions anyway.
First and 10 with the ball at the 35. Again, Nelson has the front line of Ruston jumping around like a Chinese fire drill. Prior to the handoff to Russell Davis, a gain of about 3 up to the 38. That was a phantom fumble, really. I didn't see it, and I'm not certain that the Ruston offensive line didn't see it either, because had they had ample opportunity to come up with a recovery.
Well, I think most everyone thought that he was down, and what happened is that he got hit, and as he was falling forward, just before he reached the ground, the last tackler came in, knocked the ball loose with a helmet. Kenneth Ray Reed knocked the ball loose with a helmet into the defensive interior, and Neville was there to pounce on it.
Second down and 6 for the Tigers. Nelson to Kirkendorf, and he's buried. Clifton McCray, a sophomore, 6'2", 190 pounds, and he was all over the ball carrier here for Neville.
And watch Michael Slaughter. Michael Slaughter gets in here, gets up underneath, and makes the tackle in the backfield. He fought off the blocker and snuck up underneath the lead blocker to make the tackle. A fine play, and that's the kind of big play that he needs to make to keep the Bearcats in the game.
McCray got him high, and Slaughter got him low. And Slaughter made the initial hit. 8:25 to play in the third quarter. Neville leading 20-12. Nelson with a bootleg again. The 45. He's up to midfield and has the first down. Slaughter made the stop after the 11-yard gain. Michael Slaughter will be one tired linebacker tomorrow morning.
And Nelson is so quick. Here you see him make the fake. Now, this is a fake sweep to the right, and he takes it on the bootleg. You see the seam right here, and the reason there's such a seam is that Ruston has made sure that he does not get to the outside and get around him. Clifton McCray made sure that Nelson couldn't go out around him, and that way Nelson was able to cut up into the seam for the first down.
First down and 10. There's Kirkendorf. Kirkendorf at the 40. Another near first down. It will depend upon where they mark it. I believe he does have the first down, judging from our vantage point. A 10-yard gain. Stringfellow ran him out of bounds. Tab Kirkendorf, only 155 pounds. Last year, primarily, his only duty was seen as the kicker on the kickoffs for the Tigers. He has 40 yards thus far and only 4 carries. A bevy of running backs utilized by Charlie Brown, and that's always been the case, going way back to the Jerry Tucker era of the early 1970s when the Tigers were so great. McGee inside the 35 to the 33. Gain of 7 there. Stringfellow, and we have an injured Bearcat at the point of the tackle. It appears to be one of the defensive backs. We'll try to pick up the number. Maybe Slaughter. Maybe Michael Slaughter.
I believe that's Rick Storm.
Yes, Storm. It is the other linebacker. Yes, 36. Rick Storm's the right side linebacker, is the injured Bearcat.
And it looks like he just got the wind knocked out of him. He kind of got caught in that stack, and when that happens, it's painful, though not serious. But at the time that it happens, you really don't enjoy it very much. There you see him trying to, he's getting some air back in him, and he feels okay. But these Neville Tigers continue to run and pound and pound and pound. Now there you see Storms got hit in the midsection by his own player Stringfellow, who was involved in the tackle. And when you ever get a helmet right there and you're not ready for it, it hurts enough when you're ready for it, but when you're not, it certainly knocks the wind out of you.
Second down and 3. Russell Davis gets the call. He's close to the first down. He needed to get to the 30-yard line. There's Stringfellow among a number of others. In on the stop. Also in there, defensive tackle Brooks Weiss.
But Tim, you know, whenever you see the secondary players involved on just about every tackle, you know the coaching staff is worried, because you would like for your defensive line, but most importantly your linebackers, to make most of those tackles. Whenever your secondary people have to get involved in every play, then you don't want that to happen, because it means that they're breaking that line of scrimmage, and that means you're giving up too much yardage.
On third down and short, the first down picked up by Russell Davis. There's Weiss again on the stop, and the linebacker just into the game, Matt Bowles, who came in for the injured linebacker Rick Storms. And there's some of the Neville contingent that made it down from Monroe. Along the Bayou Desert area, when things go right, they call the Monroe Fun Row. It's a great town. Good place to go to college, Doug.
Is that where you went to college?
Yeah, that's where I went. Slot left. McNeil in the slot. And there's Kirkendorf down to the 20-yard line. Brooks Weiss has been all over the place the last 3 plays. He, along with Keith Payne, polished up on Kirkendorf. But another healthy gain on first down. This time, 7 yards picked up. It'll be 2nd and 3 as McGee comes in for Kirkendall.
And Storms, incidentally, was back in the ball game on that play. It's good to see that he's okay, and good to see that he's got enough wind back to participate further in this contest. I love those names they have on defense. Payne, Slaughter, and Storms.
Storms, yes. Slot right. And the handoff goes to Kenneth Ray Reed, following Courtney Wallace. Alan Outley made the initial hit after a gain of about 3. Down, they'll mark the ball, actually. His knee hit, they say. Forward progress stopped just inside the 19-yard line. So this will be a big play. 3rd down and a long yard here. And you know it's 4-down territory.
And this is just good old-fashioned Neville football. They're pounding away. They're handing the ball off, lining up in that straight tee, and giving the ball to one of those 3 running backs, leading with the other 2.
That should be a 1st down. And the guy that carried the mail on that 87-yard drive, for the most part, got the call, Terry McGee. Outley and Chuck Jones there to make the stop. Official timeout. They want to bring the chain gang out and get a closer look here.
One thing that happens in these ball control type games, particularly in this 3rd quarter, it seems to me as if the 3rd quarter just started, but already there are only 4 minutes 45 seconds remaining, because that clock continues to run repeatedly as those running plays are run off by the Neville Tigers. 1st down it is, about the 17, between the 17 and 18-yard line, or right on the 17. And Neville in fine position. 16 first downs for Neville to 6 for Ruston. And I think that's pretty indicative. And you got to remember that for a good portion of this ball game, Ruston had the ball most of the time, and they had all of the yardage.
And in the 1st quarter, at one point, about 7 minutes deep into the game, Neville was minus 1 yard rushing. So they really got it started in the 2nd quarter. This is the 11th play of this drive, and Neville did pick up the 1st down after they measured. Russell Davis again, that's the same play he scored on earlier in the 2nd quarter. And he just burrowed down to the 10-yard line before Outley made the stop along with Slaughter.
And this is good play calling by the Neville staff. They've been lining up in the tight tee. They've been running and been pretty successful, but it took them 3 downs to make their last 1st down. So this time they come out, they line up in a slot left and leave 2 running backs. That forces Ruston's secondary to spread out to cover those receivers, and they run Davis right up the middle. Once he breaks the line, he's got good running, gains about 7 yards.
A straight T formation. Terry McGee down to the 7-yard line. Making the stop for Ruston was Charles Wilson, 6'2", 210-pounder along the front line. And we have an official timeout. And it will be enough for the 1st down. It does appear. Make it 1st and goal.
And, of course, Tim, I tell you, the most important thing with any offense is the blocking in the offensive line. Any of those offenses works very well. The single wing, the Notre Dame box, the tight tee, the wing tee, the wishbone, they all work well when your offensive line knocks all the other people down.
Terry McGee stopped at the line of scrimmage that time. Neville went to the well once too often that time. Mitch White, Storms, and McCray on the stop for Ruston. 3 minutes and 9 seconds are left. Neville has eaten up 6 minutes of the clock. McGee has rushed the ball 12 times tonight for 95 yards. Cumulatively, coming into this game, Neville's running backs had picked up 3,500 yards this season.
That's a lot of yardage, isn't it?
That's dynamite.
That's about as far as you walk in a year.
It's 2nd down and goal from the 6. Nelson uses his own athletic ability to get in for 6. What a great play by Maurice Nelson. And it's now 26-12 Tigers.
And Tim, you mentioned a play ago that they had gone to the well once too often, but look what they did. They faked going to the well this time. Nelson keeps the ball to the other side and makes a great athletic move himself to get into the end zone for the touchdown.
And it appears he got a Charlie horse in so doing.
Looks like he got that. Moving those legs too quick, and you get those muscles to tighten up. But he moved them where he needed to move them that time to get into the end zone. A fine play, but good individual execution by Maurice Nelson.
Tim Pettingill will try for the point after. This time, the snap gets fouled up. Rolling is Allen and throws for 2, and it's not in time. Intended for Terry McGee. So Neville again comes up short in its bid for the 1 point after. We've got a timeout on the field with 2:36 to play in the third quarter. The Tigers have asserted themselves and now have built up a 14-point lead over their rivals from Ruston.
When was the last time you heard a song by Nat King Cole, the Ames Brothers, Dionne Warwick, Duke Ellington, the Andrews Sisters, New Vaudeville Band, Teresa Brewer, Tommy Dorsey, the Carpenters, Eddie Howard, Ziggy Ellman, Frankie Lane, Fifth Dimension, Vaughn Monroe, Benny Goodman, Neil Diamond, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Johnny Ray, Harry James, Johnny Mathis, Bing Crosby? When was the...
Men's fashions of quality and distinction. Excellent selection in hard-to-find sizes. Early store hours for your convenience. Knowledgeable salesmen who'll help make each selection the finest. Christmas time in the city of...
Lined up at the left defensive end, came through clean, but then used the speed that he needs at 240 pounds to run with John Mays, catch him from behind, and drag him down for the short loss.
After a play like that, coaches like Chick Childress say, that's not fair.
It's not fair for him.
That big to be that quick. Sims on the reverse. Sims inside the 50, may have the first down to the Tiger 45. Kenneth Ray Reed knocked him out of bounds. I believe they will give him forward progress inside the 45, and if that's true, it will be a first down. And we have another injured Ruston player, and that may be Sims.
I believe that's Sims down on the tackle. He's up under his own power now. He's running back to the huddle. I might have gotten his leg twisted up underneath him. He made a nice run that time. Got around Wallace again. It was a reverse, a counter play, really. He took the ball around the right side. Wallace was there, had done a nice job preparing to defend the play, but Sims used his speed to get outside and around Wallace to pick up the big gain. Almost the first down, very, very short yardage, but a key play for Ruston. They have moved the ball well, but they must maintain possession at least long enough to get a touchdown so that they can get back in the ball game.
We've got a timeout on the field with 1:43 to play in the third quarter. The Neville Tigers lead the Ruston Bearcats by 26-12.
For Ed Ryan, who was confused by all the new unleaded gasoline claims, there's Gulf Super Unleaded. Now is always the gas with guts, one of the highest octane gasolines you can buy. For Morton Mitchell, who demands the right gas, but at the right price, Gulf self-service makes more sense for less sense.
Gulf, everything we do makes driving better for you.
Procrastination. Edward Young called it the thief of time, and he was right. But it's one thing to procrastinate painting a room. It's an entirely different thing to procrastinate the pre-planning of your funeral. It's procrastination which can cost your family not only dollars, but grief. It's so easy to pre-plan, and Kilpatrick will be glad to come to you and show you just how simple it is. You can put off painting a room for a while longer. But when it comes to pre-planning, don't procrastinate. Call Kilpatrick.
Third down conversions, as you see the graphic there. Ruston 0 of 4. They're faced with third and inches now. They did not get forward progress inside the Neville 45. Houston for the first down to the 43. Caldwell made the stop along with Jim Tenor, number 10, just getting up. Tony Houston is the player that most believe will play big-time college football out of this running back troika that Ruston possesses. Dexter Sims, some say, would be a great special teamer at the Division I college level. Of course, he is the senior. Houston, but a junior, and goes 6'2", 180 pounds. There's the reverse. Robert Smith, the split end, is going to throw it, and Houston is open. Touchdown. Markers down, though.
That's pass interference on Neville, I am quite sure, and still they were not able to keep Houston from catching the touchdown pass.
Well, I think they marked it out of bounds at the 2, though, Doug. He did get into the end zone, but I believe the official marked it out of bounds at the 2-yard line. Now, he did hit the flagpole, and I'm wondering now if, in fact, he did get down in the corner of the end zone or did step out of bounds or maybe do a juggling act going out. It won't matter because there's a procedure penalty. So it's offsetting penalties. So back up field at the line of scrimmage, there was a foul committed by Ruston, and that'll cost them.
You saw the move, the right guard move right before the snap. That's the illegal procedure call. But I want you to watch this great catch by Houston. He must have heard what you said, Tim, because he's trying to prove to everyone that he can be a major college star. And he made an outstanding catch. There was pass interference, but the offsetting penalties send it back.
But the referee marked him out of bounds at the 2-yard line, and he clearly got in for the touchdown, had it not been for the infractions by both Ruston and Neville. Not that it matters, because there were penalties on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That was a lot of fun to watch, though.
You know, maybe what he was doing on the 2 was to marking where the pass interference penalty was. Because I'm not so sure he realized Houston had caught the ball.
Yeah, ball at the 43-yard line, 1st and 10. Pitch to Johnny Mays. Mays to the 35, markers down again. Tenor, along with Maurice Nelson, running Mays out of bounds. This penalty will be against Ruston.
My gosh, you know that Chick Childress is upset about this because these Bearcats have come fighting back and have made great plays, 2 outstanding plays in a row, won the long pass for what should have been the touchdown. This a good gain on 1st down. Penalties on both.
And isn't it a paradox? When they played about 5 weeks ago, it was Neville that made all the mental errors and Ruston that played mistake-free football, and that's really the reason they won the game.
That's right, and that's what's caused the problems. Remember the last drive, the first drive of this half, Ruston took the ball down. Mays fumbled the ball. That gave Neville possession. They kept it for 7 minutes and 6 seconds and the touchdown, but that's the turnabout in this game. They have made the mistakes tonight that have been costly. Neville has been able to overcome the mistakes that they have made.
1st down and 22 yards to go after the penalty. Robert Smith is at the bottom of your screen. Christian Lewis will throw with 1 minute to play in the 3rd quarter. Well, there were a couple of receivers out there. Houston, along with Greg Herbert, both in the general vicinity. The ball fell incomplete, and it will be 2nd down and 22. One might wonder if, in fact, there a bit of mix-up on the patterns being run there with 2 receivers in the same general area.
Well, you don't ever know. You know, teams that run a lot of ball control type offense and who run play action passes oftentimes will end up with receivers who look like they are in the general area because they are hoping, because of the play action fake, that one of those receivers will be wide open. In this case, neither was, and the pass wasn't close enough to be caught anyway.
Slot left with Sims in the slot. It now comes in motion to the bottom of your screen. And again, it's Smith that's going to throw. And the intended receiver is the quarterback, Christian Lewis, and he caught it, but he caught it out of bounds. An unfortunate play there. The pressure was being put on defensively by Neville's Greg Leroy, and that botched up this play here.
It sure did, because if Smith had a chance to make a good throw, here you see he always wanted to come back to the backside, but he was not able to hold on to the ball long enough to throw it where he needed to. Nice catch anyway, but you know, those catches that they bring the ball back to the line of scrimmage don't count for very much. They're fun to watch.
And there have been 2 of them in the last 2 minutes where Ruston's concerned. Christian Lewis unhappy with the confusion offensively. And he'll come now to talk with, among others, Kenny Lantrop, who is one of the assistants on Chick Childress' staff. Great college quarterback at Louisiana Tech. People think about Ruston football, and they go back, and everyone thinks of Louisiana Tech when they think of Ruston. Kenny Lantrop had a stellar career there. And when you consider that Denny Doran, Terry Bradshaw, Ken Lantrop, Mickey Slaughter, A lot of offensive minds have been affiliated with Louisiana Tech, and all of them have come out of Ruston. Skilled positions, Doug, in northern Louisiana. You have just seen so many of them, so many quarterbacks, so many great running backs out of that sector of the state.
Well, how many great quarterbacks have come out of that area? Joe Ferguson, Terry Bradshaw, Burt Jones. I mean, great quarterbacks.
Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
And the list goes on and on.
Outstanding, and great individuals also.
Yes.
So that part of the state has really produced some fine people who have contributed to high school and college football, but also to the communities where they live.
They all are giving back to their respective areas. Setbacks are split. Third and eternity. Third down at 22. Lewis sends 3 receivers out. Mays gets it. Bounces off one would-be tackler and sets free into Neville territory at the 49. He was really popped right at the point of the reception, and then bounced off to pick up about 10 yards.
Now watch the pop. Mays is going to take the pass on the screen. They have a cross action in the backfield and a screen to the right, and Mays gets, boom, he gets unloaded on by Richard Richards. He was able to overcome that and finally is dragged down on a nice tackle by Freddie Caldwell. A pretty good game, not what they needed, though, for the first down.
Mays with a little nasal work there along the sidelines. 4th down and 17. Lewis to punt. 7 seconds left to play now in the 3rd quarter. Again, not the kind of punt that Lewis would have liked. Neville will take over at its 28-yard line. That's where they spot it, and it's only a 21-yard boot. 4 seconds are left, time enough for one play in the 3rd quarter. And there again, Ruston had an opportunity to put Neville in a hole, and a lack of good kicking, both in the punting game and in the place kicking categories, have hurt both of these teams tonight.
But, you know, I guess that really points out something about Neville, a team that has been so dominant as they have been with the kicking game, because they really can't rely upon extra point kicking, and on the kickoffs they've not been able to get the ball deep enough. It really tells you something about the job that they have done in the offensive and defensive lines.
Russell Davis, speaking of the offensive line, runs like an offensive tackle and carries Bearcats with him all the way to the Neville 45, a 17-yard gain, and that'll do it for the 3rd quarter. After 3 quarters, the Neville Tigers lead the Ruston Bearcats 26-12 here at the Superdome in Louisiana Superdome Classic 4.
Dr. J and Dr. C for Coca-Cola.
2 out of 2 doctors recommend Coca-Cola. For symptoms of thirst due to intense physical activity. For advanced cases of thirst, real cola relief from Coca-Cola. I concur. A big, bold taste to really refresh you. 2 out of 2 doctors agree. No prescription necessary.
You know, I was a great basketball player when I was in college.
1 out of 2 doctors agree.
Where is he? There he is. So, what was it like? What was it like? The best. Nothing like a fried quarter pounder, because check it out. It's flame broiled.
Burger King presents Flame Broiled Doubles, the double hamburger, double cheeseburger, and bacon double cheeseburger, so you never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
Do you think I could have a double? Follow me.
Me?
You don't have to go all the way to Lukenbach to get back to the basics of good-looking clothes. You just need to go to the Western store. At the Western store, you'll find the basics. Jeans, shirts, boots, and hats, as well as the frills, like 3-piece suits and fancy headbands. For clothes meant for living, loving, and hard working, it's the Western store on Highway 80 in West Monroe.
The Holiday Inn Hotel and the TM Piano Bar and Restaurant of Ruston invite you to the best New Year's Eve party in North Louisiana. Included are one-night stay at the Holiday Inn, shuttle transportation to the party and back, no DWIs, a comedian, piano bar, dance, and live band, complimentary champagne at midnight, party favors, hors d'oeuvres, a midnight fireworks display, and breakfast buffet for 2 at Maxwell's. Party from 9 p.m. till 1 a.m. all for only $69.95 plus tax per couple. Tickets are going fast. Call 255-5901.
Established themselves as the dominant team offensively now. 10 more first downs than Ruston. And they have a 1st and 10 at their 46 as we start play in the 4th quarter. Kirkendorf is in deep trouble. escapes Payne, escapes Outley, and now loses the football, but Nelson is there to grab it at the 35. The linebacker that made the hit, Rick Storms, forced the ball loose, and we'll take another look here.
And pretty stout defensive work all along the line. First, you see Payne making the great play to turn Kirkendorf back inside, and then you see great pursuit. Houston coming up to make sure that Kirkendorf doesn't get out around him. Nelson, fortunately for Neville, was right there to recover the fumble, because that's Ruston's big play if they can come up with that football.
Second down and 21. Nelson again with the cadence, giving problems for the Ruston's defensive front. That time, though, the man that ironically was jumping around came up with a tackle. Charles Wilson, left tackle, made the stop.
And I think he, more than anyone, has been bothered by that cadence, Tim. Wilson has been jumping slightly quite a bit. One time in the first half, he made contact there, but this time he got back, was able to come over and make a good tackle. Third down in long yardage for Neville, and you certainly wouldn't expect them to gamble at this point.
Gray Reisinger made the carry for Neville, and now Nelson on third down is dumped. So Ruston now answering the call. They have to realize that now's the time. We're coming down to cases, and again, a great play made by Keith Payne in making the stop of Maurice Nelson. Payne appears to be all right. He's the one with the headgear off.
Well, I think he had his helmet come off during the course of the play, but he's all right. He made an excellent play. Here you see the fake and then the bootleg by Nelson. Payne is not fooled by it. He keeps his depth, which is what he's supposed to do. Stay as deep as the deepest back in the backfield, and that way they will have a difficult time getting around you. Excellent play, excellent tackle.
It's punt time for Etheridge. His first opportunity in some time. Stringfellow at his 30. The 34. He's finally pummeled by a number of Tigers. The first one down there to make the stop is Greg Leroy. Richard Richards also in on the pile. First down and 10 for Ruston with the ball at the 33-yard line. And with 10 minutes and 10 seconds left, it may be now or never for Chick Childress's crew. They're trailed by 14.
And the way that Neville keeps control of the football, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, about the length of a 90-yard drive.
Off tackle goes Dexter Sims for 6 yards. Rodney Jones made the stop for Neville. Sims has had a great night. As a matter of fact, when this game is over, no matter what the outcome, statistically, the running backs for Ruston, and I'm talking about Sims and Mays and Houston, will look back on their statistics and say, hey, I had a good game. But they did not have the long drives, the ones that ate up the clock, like the Neville Tigers. Second down at 6.
Well, they have played well also. They have not been responsible for what's going on. Neville just has played exceptional offensive football.
9:26 left to play. Lewis, play action, and we have markers down. Too much time, apparently, to call. Freddie Caldwell exchanging verbiage with Christian Lewis, giving him a pat on the back. Caldwell says, I'm up by 14. I'll be nice. At least when I'm not on the line of scrimmage. Lewis has been bothered a great deal by a very fast, very quick, and very big defensive front tonight when going back to pass. Second down and 11 yards to go.
And you know, he's telling them, look, guys, we have got to come up with a big play now, because like Tim said, time is running out.
He heard that, right?
He heard it.
Lewis sends 4 receivers out.
Oh, he's got someone open.
Caldwell is in hot pursuit, and he throws it out of bounds. The intended receiver, Greg Herbert. Again, we have a marker down. And there were a couple of receivers that were wide open that time. And again, the pressure was what kept him from finding the open man.
And that may be why somebody was wide open.
Yes. Too many of them out there.
When you send 8 guys downfield, they have a difficult time covering all of them. And especially when you send tackles and guards down there.
Robert Smith now coming into the game. It will be after the penalty, and Neville will take it. 2nd down and 16.
Well, that's a loss of down penalty also.
That's right, 3rd down. I beg your pardon. So it doesn't look good for the Ruston aggregate right now. 3rd down. 16 yards to go. Houston in the slot at the top of your screen. Neville knows Lewis must throw. And that one was nearly picked off by Maurice Nelson. Had he come up with it, it would have been 6. And it's now 4th down. Childress has to make the decision. And with 8:55 left and the opportunity for a turnover or 2, he'll probably opt to punt. Of course, we wouldn't know until Lewis goes back in punt formation because the quarterback also handles the punting chores. And this is the optimum time for a good punt for Lewis, and he's long overdue. He's had a tough night back there. Low line driver taken by Kirkendorf at his 38 up to the 45 and stopped in his tracks by Greg Herbert. A 36-yard punt, an 8-yard return, 8:45 remaining in the game. The Superdome Classic 4 Quad A Championship sees Neville on top of Ruston by 14.
Remember when you were in love and time stood still, when music told a story and the story it told was yours. KMBS remembers and plays the music that can carry you back through all the years, the times and places, the smiles and tears, the music, the memories, and even a touch of today. KMBS AM 13, music and memories, yesterday and today.
Flair Jewelers presents the Gems of Christmas, affordably priced for gift giving. The world's most precious stones, expertly crafted in a fashionable variety of settings, including rings, necklaces, bracelets, pendants, earrings, and watches. Gifts for him and gifts for her. Flair's diamond experts will help you select a work of art from their dazzling Christmas collection. A gift from Flair is a treasured investment. Flair Jewelers, 18th and Louisville, Monroe.
Last year, we were here when Neville beat South Terrebonne for the state Quad A championship, and then later for Lorimar Sports, we had the opportunity to bring you statewide coverage of the Quad A championship basketball game. The Tigers won that one as well. They go for their 2nd in a row in pigskin play tonight, and they're leading by 14 as Russell Davis carries the mail up to the 49-yard line. Lorimar Sports will again be there this year for the Quad A Girls and Boys Championship in high school basketball. Stop made that time defensively by Ruston's Alan Outley. Jones, Outley, Clifton McCray, and Keith Payne up front for the Bearcats, with Houston, Slaughter, and Storms the linebackers, and the mini in Doug Morrow's all-name team all time. Todd Viator, Mitch White are the corners, with Jerry Melton and Jay Garrett the safeties. Nelson doing again a great job of shielding the ball and handing off to Reisinger, who gets the 1st down all the way down to the Ruston 45-yard line. He's a real tactician and magician with that football, isn't he, Maurice Nelson?
And he's so small, and he stays down so low, keeps his knees bent so well. And with the big hosses he's got back there, it's just difficult to find him. And of course, once you get the ball into the hands of a Russell Davis or a Reisinger, who is only a sophomore, but 5'9", 185 pounds, and a very, very strong runner, he's shown this evening, despite the few carries, that he can break the tackles and pick up the yardage.
1st down and 10. Russell Davis carries the ball to the 41-yard line. And the clock ever ticketh. And it's not going the right way for the Ruston Bearcats right now. They have just absolutely got to stop Neville on this possession to have a prayer. Russell Davis, 12 rushes for 76 yards. He carried the mail that time. He has 1 touchdown. It really took him a quarter to get untracked and get into this game offensively.
Well, took their entire offense. They had almost nothing rushing, but then McGee now 12 for 95, Davis 12 for 76, Kirkendorf 5 for 47.
In all 7 running backs for Charlie Brown's club tonight. That's McGee carrying it to the 37-yard line. Making the stop for the Bearcats was Barrett Nelson, a junior, 6 foot, 150-pounder. 3rd down and 3 yards to go. 6.5 minutes left to play in the game. The Neville Tigers here for the 3rd time in 4 years, trying to come away with a championship. McGee inside the 35. He has the first down to the 34. The Ruston defense appears to be a bit bewildered, Doug. Houston made the stop along with Storms. They've been on the field some time because Neville's juggernaut has been long and encompassing here in the second half.
Well, Tim, they've been out there a long time, but they've not played poorly. It's just that they're playing against an exceptional football team that has played very well. I think you've got to give Ruston an awful lot of credit because they have played hard from the very beginning of this game.
Absolutely.
They've made a few mistakes that have hurt them, but by and large, Neville has taken the game away from them.
McGee over the 100-yard mark on the night. And again, that master magician, Nelson, handing off to Russell Davis, and he's inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. Charles Wilson made the stop along with Slaughter, Michael Slaughter. And the Bearcats now have taken a timeout, their first of this half. And we have a timeout on the field with 5:33 to play, and the Neville Tigers marching toward a state title lead Ruston by 26-12.
Guess what I heard my babysitter telling her boyfriend? What? How quarter pounders are made. How? They're fried. But she said Burger King has a quarter-pound double burger, and it's flame broiled. Not fried.
Burger King presents Flame Broiled Doubles, the double hamburger, double cheeseburger, and bacon double cheeseburger. So you never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
What's wrong with frying? Oh,
Whispering Pines mobile home sales will not be undersold by anybody. Here's proof. Nick Mansour, owner of Whispering Pines, has a 1985 14x80 mobile home with 3 bedrooms for only
$12,995.
How about plywood floors,
Cathedral ceiling,
garden tub, and many extras
for only $12,995. Plus, it's fully carpeted.
That's a 1985 14x80 3-bedroom mobile home for only
$12,995. Or 2 bedrooms for only
$89.95.
Plus, free delivery and setup at Price Busters. Whispering Pines mobile home sales, I-20 Shooter exit number 93 in Louisiana, and the old Skyview Drive-In in El Dorado.
Nick will not be undersold.
Culminating tonight with the Quad A state championship game. Earlier tonight in the Class A finals, Haynesville beat Southern Lab of Baton Rouge by a score of 11-8. Quad A finals coming your way on statewide television for the 2nd year in a row. Doug Morrow alongside yours truly, Tim Brando. We're happy you joined us as Reisinger carries and is stopped in his tracks by Keith Payne. Ruston now in the position where they have to use up their timeouts because they've got to stop the clock to have a chance of scoring twice.
And it's not that they have many to use up. They have called 2 timeouts early in this half that they didn't intend to use. They only have 1 timeout left. 5 minutes, 4:55 remaining in the ball game, and it's a tough task ahead for the Bearcats.
3rd and 3, big play. McGee, it appears he has the first down. And if he does, and from here it appears that he has picked it up, then it's almost curtains for the Bearcats. Unless, of course, they can come up with a quick turnover. 4:42 left to play.
Tim, what's so awesome about the Neville offense is that aside from the fact that they have the Courtney Wallaces up there on the offensive line with the size of the running backs and lined up in that T formation and leading those front 2 lead backs into the hole, they've got tremendous blocking power, and Ruston has just become worn down through the course of this contest.
Kenneth Ray Reed breaks free, and he's thrown to the turf by Ruston cornerback Bobby Slaughter, the younger brother of Michael Slaughter, who also plays running back offensively and still has a year of eligibility at Ruston High.
Now watch, this is a play, it's a counter play, which comes out of a wing rather than the straight tee. Reed takes the ball, but a good tackle made
by Greg
on
Anders.
The right side by Greg Anders.
Rather than Slaughter,
by the jersey.
Anders made the stop, just inserted into the game, I might add. And Anders also has a year of eligibility remaining. He's just a junior. These two teams are going to be here, or at least be vying for the Superdome Classics of the future in the many years to come. Nelson, a little water bug act inside the 20 to the 19 on a 2nd and 9 play, and he got 4 where there seemingly was nothing. Alan Outley made the stop for the Bearcats, along with Mitch White.
And Tim, you were talking about Dexter Sims being possibly a special teams player in Division I in Major College. You know, I bet there's some teams that will take a look at Nelson, because Nelson, with his quickness, with his balance, his overall ability, he's got tremendous athletic ability, is someone that I think can play Major College football despite that small size.
Inside, Davis carries inside the 15, down to the 10, fumbles at the 5. They're going to rule him down at the 5. No, they're going to rule it a fumble, and Alan Outley came up with it at the 6-yard line. So, with 2:48 left, Neville does not score. Ruston does get the ball back. That's the good news. The bad news, they have 94 yards now in front of them.
Well, I think Russell Davis just got tired of dragging all these people along with him, because he's dragging 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he just got tired of carrying all those people and the football, and he had to drop something.
Todd Viator actually knocked the ball loose, the cornerback. Only 5'5", 120 pounds. Not that guy. Alan Outley is the guy that got the fumble recovery.
And you know why Allen's not a running back when you saw him pick up the ball. He didn't know what it was.
Mays is run out of bounds at the 9-yard line. Making the stop defensively, Blake Wilcox for the Tigers. Gain of about 3. We'll call it 2nd down and 7 yards to go. 2:42 remaining. You talked to the hierarchy, Doug, of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. A lot has been said and written about the future of the Superdome Classic 4. When you have two teams from northern Louisiana, obviously the gate has been affected. But I think it's a great thing. I'd like to see it stay down here. I don't know about you, but that's my opinion.
We'll talk about it after this play.
Great pass from Lewis, and gathered in beautifully by Dexter Sims, and he's out to midfield. Kenneth Ray Reed stopped him. That's the best pass play of the game for Christian Lewis.
And that's the type of thing that we would think coming into the second half they might try to do, is to get Sims, get Houston out in the open field with the ball in their hands in the passing game. This is a pass just out in the flat. Sims, with his quickness, gets open, but then he does something with it. First, he jukes by one man, then by a second man, and then pulls the tackler another 5 or 6 yards. Excellent play, almost up to midfield, and that's the tonic that they needed.
41 yards on the carry. Now Sims will throw for Houston, and he's wide open, and it's incomplete. Maurice Nelson knocked it loose. We have markers down. But Maurice Nelson knocked that one free from Robert Smith, the intended receiver. Or I should say Houston, Tony Houston.
And that's a legal procedure. It's going to go back to 5 yards against the Bearcats. Tim, back to what you were talking about with the Classic here in the Superdome, I think it would be a terrific idea, and I hope that it does continue to develop. Obviously, it is inconvenient for people who are in the northern part of the state to come down and be able to support their high school teams. But hopefully there will be enough interest generated, and hopefully there will be whatever changes need to be made in scheduling and whatever things develop. And of course, this is a process of development. It's been here only 4 years, so that it'll be supported by people on a statewide basis, because it's a great thing for the youngsters. It's a great setting to have a football classic of this type.
I couldn't agree more. First down at 15. Houston in motion at the top of your screen. Lewis finds Sims, and it's off Sims' fingertips at about the 47. I believe we have a foul. Perhaps Sims and Tenor were throwing a few elbows, and I believe it was Sims that got caught. We'll wait.
I tell you, Tim, the ball was thrown to Sims. He reached up his arm, the ball bounced off, and Tenor was coming over to make the coverage and took a little pop at him. I don't know that in itself was that bad, but it happened right in front of the official. And when it happened, Sims was protecting himself. That's what the official saw. They're calling the penalty on Sims. If there was to be a flag, I think you've got to call it on both of them, if anything. But I don't think that there was a necessity for a flag.
Out of retaliation, Sims did get caught. There's our senior executive producer, Russ Potts, Lorimar Sports, our executive producer tonight, the guy calling the shots, Keith Samples. A great job by him. Our coordinating producer, Jimmy Rayburn. Our producer-director tonight, Keith Samples. Our associate producers, John Humphrey and Dave Olmstead, clearing our stations for us for this telecast. William Dipole there. Our technical director, Gary Coular. And there's the rest of our fine crew here at the Superdome tonight, and a great job indeed. Another one of the reasons why we like the Superdome Classic 4 taking place. Sims again going long, and he's got it. Touchdown, Ruston.
And Timbo, that's why Dexter Sims, as you said, can play on major college level. That was a great catch. That's a difficult pass to catch because the ball was coming almost directly over his head. It was a combination pattern, and Sims is in the backfield. You see him at the bottom of the screen coming out. The wide receiver goes down, and across the field, Sims trailing it behind him, and makes what I think is about as difficult a catch as can be had in college football, high school football, pro football, on any level. It's a great catch, and then he took the ball, tucked it under, maintained his balance in bounds, and did what he had to do. You see how difficult this catch is because he's looking almost straight back. But he did what he has to do. Gets Ruston back in the ball game.
And Wyatt's extra point attempt fails, but we again have markers down. And it's this time against Neville, and that will give Wyatt and Ruston a breath of fresh air because this extra point attempt means so much. It's an 8-point cushion. Now, obviously, Ruston with an onside kick could get the ball back. They could tie the game if they so desired with a touchdown and an extra point, or then go for 2. But this is a big play. Offside's the call against Neville.
And with the penalty, of course, it puts them there. They may decide to go for 2 right here.
Yes, they may.
Instead of kicking the extra point.
They only have 1 timeout remaining, Doug. They had to take those timeouts while on defense moments ago, so they will have to go for the onside kick. But that follows all of this. Straight tee behind Christian Lewis. And Sims is in. Dexter Sims right over Freddie Caldwell for the 2-point conversion. And with 2:04 left, friends, we may still have a horse race.
And watch Sims. First, he gets the lead blocking by Mays, but Sims puts his head down. He keeps fighting. He gets the football across the goal line. That's what counts.
This is the kind of game that everyone anticipated. Now, obviously, Neville has controlled this game. We cannot take that away from them. But again, you get the feeling that if Ruston had just made this play or that play earlier in the third quarter, and I point back to the Mays fumble on the opening drive in the third period, when then Neville turned right back with 7 minutes into a long drive that took 13 plays. That was really the turning point, and perhaps the biggest part of the outcome that we have right now.
And that a 94-yard drive, the longest of the game, but only a 44-second drive because of that 70-yard pass. And Tim, don't forget the touchdown pass that was called back because of the offsetting penalty. There were a lot of opportunities in this game, despite the fact that Neville has controlled the football and has chewed up the clock controlling the football, and from a physical standpoint certainly looks much the stronger team. But when you get around the scoreboard, you see that Ruston has made those big plays at the times when it needed it, and if they recover this onside kick, you know that they're going to be fired up, and that gives them an excellent opportunity to come up with the winning points.
There it is. And on top of it for the Neville Tigers is Todd Black, reserve quarterback Todd Black. And barring any unforeseen miracle, Neville could run the clock out. Ruston only has 1 timeout remaining. Neville has it at their 49-yard line. Something else we should mention, Ruston, while they won the district championship, 3 quad A, They were on the road 3 straight weeks in the playoffs, played at Central Lafourche last week, a very difficult place to play. They have been on the road for some time. They haven't had a home game in quite a while during the playoffs. So it's been a hard road to New Orleans for the Bearcats. It's been awfully difficult for Neville as well, although they have really been able to put away most of their opponents handily coming in tonight. McGee stopped at the line of scrimmage, and we're now under 2 minutes to play. Ruston opting to let the clock tick now.
And Ruston is a little bit charged up from that touchdown. They'll get another opportunity, I think. They're going to go ahead and wait till after the third play, call that timeout. And they're going to have a few seconds, hopefully, from their standpoint left. And with the ability they have to score on the long plays, this thing is never over. And that guy, you know, he doesn't think it's over.
He sure doesn't. McGee carries again, only a couple of yards. Brooks Bice was around the fray. Clifton McCray, the defensive end, also in on the pile. And it is 3rd down and 7. Charlie Brown, recognizing that it too is not over.
Charlie Brown called slot right 38 pop is the play that he's calling here. If he said it loud enough to hear it up here, you think Ruston may have heard it.
They've converted 7 of 12 times. It's 3rd and 7. Normally a passing down, except with Neville and except with this much time remaining. And there's Russell Davis for the 1st down, and then some, and he fumbles. Ruston gets it at the 23. Richard Stringfellow has the recovery. Ronald Stringfellow comes up with the recovery.
And you really can't blame Russell Davis, but I'll tell you, Ruston kept coming after him and dragging and holding on. Russell Davis doing a great job running the football. He just kept powering and powering and powering, but he got a hit from Barrett Nelson to knock the ball loose at the end of the run. Very much the way the fumble went a few minutes ago.
And guess what? Ruston did not have to use their final timeout. 44 seconds or less. Sims, Houston, and Lotiger are the receivers. Houston in motion, and Wilson. Lewis to throw, and he threw that one away.
And Lewis was thinking that Sims was going to run very much what he did a minute ago.
Yep.
The play was very similar. Sims out in the flat. Lewis thought he was going to run up the sideline. He did not, and that's why the ball landed as it did.
Isn't it amazing, though? You had to figure with the way Ruston had really been dominated by Neville's offensive front that the Tigers could salt this one away, and they nearly did. They had it in the bag, and then the fumble occurred. And now the pendulum has swung the other way, and the Bearcat partisans are on their feet. Christian Lewis has time. Now he's under duress. Has to get rid of it. Throws it out of bounds. Now the Neville fans want a marker. They want grounding.
They got one.
And they did get it. Yes, the marker just came down. In the general vicinity of the pass was Greg Herbert. But Lewis was obviously just heaving it out of bounds.
Well, there's some trombones and trumpets over there in the vicinity of where that one came down.
Not much of an argument from Lewis, but Chick Childress is giving a piece of his mind to the official. At around the 40-yard line, Chick Childress arguing, the fans being exalted by the Bearcat team. There's a look at Childress. He was upset.
Well, he was, but you know, this is going to be a one-play score if there's a score. That's the way it's got to be. So the small yardage that way doesn't cause a whole lot of problem.
Lewis to throw for Houston, and it's nearly picked off by Nelson.
And Nelson could have picked off. He tried to bat the ball away, and he batted it back at himself and then tried to bat it again, and it ended up almost in his arms. If he had tried to catch it, he would have ended up with it.
Charlie Brown says just one more play, guys.
That's right, one more. Now, Houston goes out in the flat and up the field. The ball is thrown a little bit to the inside, though, and there was good coverage by Nelson, and you see the ball is just bobbling and bobbling and bobbling, and at the last second, he's not able to hold it.
4th down, 21 yards to go. That really not significant. The ball at the 13, and it would take a Flutie-like effort from Christian Lewis to pull this one out of the bag.
But the fact that it did happen then means it can happen.
Well, he could already start on his Heisman run in college with a play here. Lewis just will heave it. Incomplete, and the Tigers will go home victorious. 17 seconds are left, and there's Charlie Brown about to claim his 3rd title as head coach at Neville High School. He got one in 73, he got one in 83, and he's about to get one in 84. And Chick Childress, who was with Charlie for that championship in 73, also picked up one himself in 1982, beating Charlie Brown in the finals just 2 years ago in a game that really was a study in contrast to tonight's game, a game won with a blocked punt and a safety by Ruston by a count of 8-0. Neville fans are some pumped up.
And Tim, a lot of points scored in this game. 26 so far for Neville, 20 for Ruston. But there could have been a lot more points scored. Russell Davis, 2 fumbles at the end of long runs near touchdowns. And then the pass that was called back that Ruston scored a touchdown on, and they were offsetting penalties.
McGee carries it down to the 7-yard line, and that's just about going to do it. Well, Doug, it's been a pleasure working with you again. Look forward to another one.
My pleasure. I hope that all that we do are as exciting as this one, and we get a chance to see some of the fine young players that we're seeing.
It's all over. The Neville Tigers are state champions. This time, Charlie Brown won't ride. He'll just stride and walk off into the sunset here in the Superdome. The Tigers are champions, beating rival Ruston by 6.
Got a taste for living. Want the best and nothing less will do. Got a taste, and only Coke can match it. Want the best, and I know Coke is it. Coke is it. The taste that's good forever. Coke is it, the one that's number one. Coke is it. There's no doubt about it. Coca-Cola, Coke is it.
When was the last time you heard a song by Nat King Cole, the Ames Brothers, Dionne Warwick, Duke Ellington, the Andrews Sisters, New Vaudeville Band, Teresa Brewer, Tommy Dorsey, the Carpenters, Eddie Howard, Ziggy Elman, Frankie Lane, Fifth Dimension, Vaughn Monroe, Benny Goodman, Neil Diamond, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Johnny Ray, Harry James, Johnny Mathis, Bing Crosby? When was the last time you listened to KMBS?
You just can't beat the bargains at Nolan Rainwater and Ruston during their 7th annual Bargain Hunter Sale and GMC's great flood of values. This 85 GMC pickup with 4-wheel drive, V8, 4-speed air power and more is just $10,747. And this 84 GMC S15 pickup with air, V6, 4-speed power and more, bargain price to just $79.89. Find bargains like these only at Nolan Rainwater and Ruston, your GMC wheeler dealer.
The ABCs, counting, Roman numerals. These were the basics of American education. Today, a student will use over 500 pounds of books before graduation. That's because public schools now teach the basics and a whole lot more. This message has been brought to you as a public service by the Expect the Best Steering Committee and KNOE Television.
Champions throughout the Superdome Classic 4. The trophy presentation about to be made to the Quad A runner-up Ruston. By the way, the 3 Quad A district champion and the runner-up in that same district comes away with the gold tonight. The Neville High Tigers of Coach Charlie Brown. Single A, double A, triple A, Quad A, they were all great games amassed in 48 hours. And Doug, tonight's game really was the culmination of what was a great 2 days in high school athletics here in Sportsman's Paradise, wasn't it?
Tim, it's great to see so many teams have an opportunity to all be in one place where people can see them, see the cream of the crop in Louisiana high school athletics, and see the way the young men perform, and see the quality of individuals that there are as well as the quality of athletes.
I guess the bottom line, even though we look at statistical data that shows that Neville dominated this game, when it comes to the Superdome Classics, there really are no losers, are there?
Well, those youngsters in the red shirts there should be just as proud as they can be. They played their hearts out from beginning to end. They hold up the trophy with pride. They should hold it up with pride. The city of Ruston should be proud. The city of Monroe should be proud.
The Neville Tigers amassed 332 yards on the ground. They dominated play, and they won the state championship. For Randy Hayden, our statistician, Doug Morrow, this is Tim Brando for the entire Lorimar Sports crew, bidding you a goodbye from the Louisiana Superdome.
Tonight's Louisiana 4A High School Football Championship. Brought to you by Coca-Cola USA. For big refreshment, Coke is it. And by Burger King, where the double burgers are flame broiled. Just think, you may never have to eat a fried quarter pounder again.
From Woodlawn, Jefferson's principal of Baker, Mr. Palmer, the principal of Lake Charles Boston, will present to Neville High School. Successively here for Louisiana Superdome. Okay, Ruston.
Get some room, get some room. Back up. Back up, back up, y'all. Back up. was the other young man, huh? Somebody just called your name out?
And one final question to be made by Mr. Donald Neville.
Yes. Now, this is yours. I thought I heard your name called out. Congratulations. And this is the other. This is for Neville. Good game.
What do you have, 300-something yards?
Man, I didn't see the final stat.
320, so you had about 402, I think, overall. It was pretty good.
Ready, Lance?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Charlie, a tremendous win, and I really felt that the Tiger running game was really the difference. You controlled the football, took it down there about 80 yards a couple of times, and really kept it out of Ruston's hands and got them tired defensively.
Well, thank you, Lanny. I thought our offensive line just did a tremendous job of controlling the line of scrimmage and allowing our backs to make the short gains and keep possession-type football going offensively. But at the same time, gosh, the defense was tremendous when they had to be. Let's face it, Ruston has tremendous football players there in Mays and Dexter Sims. They are go-getters. They got outstanding speed, and they'll stick it up in there. They're great receivers, and our defense, they had to be tested, and especially without Big Oliver.
Well, the guys really rallied around you, Coach, you know, to fill in for Oliver. But how does this one stack up now with all the others? I know they're all sweet, but how's this one different or special from some of the others for you?
Lanny, to me, this one will always be special because when you lose the best football player you have, no reflection on the other youngsters on the team, they would be the first to tell you that Oliver Lawrence is the top high school football player in the state. And to have to play for the state championship without someone of his caliber is a credit to their character. They did a great job tonight.
Of course, you can never count Ruston out. They hit you with a bomb with less than 5 minutes to go, onside kick, and they could have been right back in it.
That's exactly right. You don't ever count Ruston out. When Neville and Ruston get together, you better get a ticket and be there.
Any final thoughts about this season, Coach?
Well, not really. We're still proud and we're still very humble to be the state champions again. We told our Tigers at halftime that we were going to have a little war out there for 24 minutes, the second half. But we were the champions until somebody took it away from us, and we're still the champions.
That's a pretty good way to end it. Thank you. That's right.
All right, man.
Chick, Neville, of course, big, physical, and it really seemed to be the difference. They were able to control the ball, especially in the second half of the ball game.
Well, in the third quarter, they did carry out a long drive that they pretty well controlled the line of scrimmage and ate up yardage and scored, and was probably the difference in the ball game. As it wound up, they won by 6 points. We kept battling back and kept battling back, but as you know, and I've admitted all along, they're a lot bigger physical team than we are. But, you know, I was proud of our kids, the way they battled back, and I couldn't be more pleased with our youngsters. Of course, we would have loved to won, but these young uns probably was a 5-5 team in the year. 6-4 would have been a good year. 7-3 would have been an outstanding year, and I felt like ever since I've been down here, an uninvited guest, everybody keeps asking me, what in the world are y'all doing here? Y'all don't have no business here, and I was beginning to wonder if we belonged here ourselves. But I think you saw tonight that we belong down here.
You know, Coach, with what you say, it's a credit to the kids. People might be saying that, but doggone it, they didn't believe it, and I think they proved it tonight. They never gave up, and at the end of the ball game, you were 2 touchdowns down. It seemed as though Neville was completely in control, and yet you hit the bomb. You pull off. If you pull off the onside kick, you're right back in it.
Right. These kids, you know, just amazed me all year. They wasn't going to quit. Wasn't no doubt in my mind about that. They was going to battle down to the last, and we was really in it till the last 24 seconds. I mean, anything can happen in one of these games, but I want to say this. Ruston Bearcats are very proud people. We don't alibi. We don't make excuses, and I am, you know, just real pleased with these people. If you can tee it up out between the white stripes and beat us, then we shake your hand and wish you well.
Well, Chick, congratulations. Even though losing today, it's been a tremendous season, and your young men have shown just a lot of character and a lot of determination, and it brought them a lot this season.
Well, we're real proud of our people, and don't be surprised if you don't catch us back down here sometime soon.
I wouldn't doubt that a bit. Good luck to you.
All right. Thank you, Lanny.
Okay.